No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the Haunting Hour. Unidentified body. A simple situation can become quite intriguing when fate steps in and adds the necessary twists. Take the case of the notorious gang who put a crime reporter on the spot because his articles were dangerous to them. Now, add this twist. The fact that the gang has never seen the reporter. And add this twist. The fact that the gangsters flee from a gunfight, carrying with them the unconscious form of a stranger, a man they do not know, a man who happens to be Jim Briggs, the newspaper reporter they would like to lay their hands on.
Who am I? Who am I?
Is he on the level, Fred?
I think he is, Chief. If you can only teach Schmidt to keep his hands to himself.
I didn't do nothing.
Shut up.
I
said shut up. Watch where you're driving. And you still see the cops beating?
I think we lost him, Chief.
It was a close call.
Too close. The town isn't safe for us. Not as long as that guy Briggs hounds us in the Daily Herald.
What do we do, Al?
We've got to get rid of him.
It won't be so easy now.
It's either him or us. Schmidt.
Yeah?
Take the next turn and head back to the hotel in town along Route 7. Let me tell you, Fred, this was Briggs' fault. He's got the cops worked up about us. He's got to go.
But how?
Where am I?
Him. What'll we do with him? The way things are, we can't risk taking him to a doctor.
No, we'd better... Say, wait a minute. I think I can handle him, Al, by myself. Better than a doctor.
What do you mean?
Just that with Trigger doing a disappearing act and lying low for the time being...
You mean maybe this guy...
Yeah, you get it. We can use him.
Fine. Go ahead, then. He's all yours.
I don't want any interference.
Don't worry. I'll see that these monkeys clam up. You too, Schmidt.
I didn't say it.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Fred.
What's the matter, fella?
My head hurts.
How'd it happen?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything. Who are you?
You know me. I'm Fred Booth.
Fred Booth? I don't remember.
Now, look, fella, I'm going to help you.
Help me?
Look at me. No, look right at me.
It's hard to hold my head that way. Hurts.
Try.
All right, I will.
You don't remember anything?
No.
Let's see about that. Where do you live?
I don't know.
What was your father's name?
His name was... I don't know.
Now, look, fella, you're in a bad way. You've lost your memory. You've got a lot of things to learn again about yourself.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm going to start off with your name, and then later I'll tell you all we know about you.
Thanks. Thanks a lot, Fred.
Your name is Trigger Martin. Real name Henry, but we've always called you Trigger. That sound familiar?
Trigger Martin.
You remember now? You ever heard the name?
Yes. Somehow it seems familiar.
Trigger, wake up.
Oh.
How are you? How's your head?
Oh, it's That's better, Fred.
You've been sleeping since we got here about 3 hours ago.
Here? Where's here? Oh, I remember the hotel.
That's right, the Crescent Hotel.
The Crescent Hotel.
What else do you remember?
Well, everything that you told me.
Anything else come back to you?
Oh?
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's all.
Now, what did I teach you?
My name is Trigger Martin. You're Fred Booth.
Go on.
Chief is Al Drake. Guy who was driving was George Smith.
Now, how about the little fella?
He's called Petey. Fred.
Yes, Trigger.
What do we do?
We?
Yeah, I mean, you're the brains, aren't you?
Well, yes, I'm the guy who figures things out for Al.
And Schmidt?
Well, Schmidt's good at safe cracking and some of the heavy work.
Oh.
Petey used to be a dip, a pickpocket. He's got light fingers. Nervous, but good to have around sometimes.
Oh, what about me?
The rest of us have pulled some pretty rough stuff, Trigger, but we've all kept our hands clean of your line.
Uh-huh. What is my line?
It's murder, Trigger. Murder.
How's he getting along, Fred? Trigger.
Okay.
Your treatment?
Well, what's wrong with it?
Risky.
Nah, he'll be all right.
He'd better. We'll need him, but soon.
I told him just now that he was a killer.
Yeah? Any questions?
No, he just wants to learn all about himself.
Great.
Would you be liking your rooms cleaned now, Mr. Drake?
Sure, anytime, Mrs. Calder, but since when do you open doors without knocking?
Well, if you're not up at this time of day, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Oh, it's not that, Mrs. Calder, but sometimes we have business conferences and can't be disturbed.
Oh, business, is it? Well, I've got a couple of dollars put away I'd like to invest.
Mrs. C., you're a great kidder.
And why should I be kidding? I'd like to live in style like you and Mr. Booth and the other gentlemen.
Finance is hard work, Mrs. Calder. You'd better stick to cleaning.
And that's just what I'll be doing if you gents will let me. Well, I'll start in this inside room and...
Mrs. Calder, I don't think you better go in there, not for a couple of days.
No?
One of our associates is in there sleeping.
Mr. Schmidt?
No, a new associate. He was hurt a little.
In a hunting accident.
He's got to have rest.
Oh, you. I'm thinking you just like to be living in a dirty room. Well, I'll be back later then.
I think you'd better. And remember, don't go in there.
I'll not be forgetting, Mr. Drake.
Chief, we ought to get out of town. Really hide out.
They can't pin anything on us yet. Besides, I like to live nice.
I like to live.
What's eating you? You don't have a murder rap against you?
So what?
Trigger's the only guy in this mob who ever had the chair to worry about. Now...
Al, calm down now.
You saying something about me, Chief?
Trigger, you ought to be taking it easy in your own room.
I tried, but every time I lay down, my head started.
Something hurting you, Trigger?
Not exactly hurting.
What then?
This business. What you told me before about my killing people. I don't like it.
What's the matter, Trigger? You going soft?
Maybe I am.
You know what happens to pals of mine that goes soft?
No, I don't.
Nothing much. Nothing much that you'd care to hear about, and we don't even notify their families.
I don't know if that'd make much difference to me. I can't even remember my family.
You can't remember lots of things, but they happened, so what?
So I want to quit.
Trigger.
I want to quit, do you hear? I don't know what I did before or how I felt before, but I know I couldn't go around knocking off guys just because you put the finger on them. Not now. Maybe the sock on the head softened me or made me yellow or reformed me or whatever else you want to call it, but I just couldn't kill a guy, and I know it. Not now. There's something inside tells me.
What are you going to do about it, Trigger?
There's nothing to prevent me from walking out of here.
Why, you...
Take it easy, Al. Now, look, Trigger. How many guys have you knocked off?
I don't know. I can't remember. Can't remember anything except what you told me.
Now, listen to me, and listen carefully. I know of 6.
Me? 6 murders?
Yeah. And I don't know how many before you started working for Al.
I heard you'd done plenty.
Sure, you can walk out of here if you want to, but it won't do you no good.
I don't get it. 6 murders.
Practically every cop in the country's got orders to drag you in dead or alive. And with your rap as a cop killer, they're going to shoot first. Now, you want to walk, or do you want to play ball?
Oh, I'll stay. I have to stay. Petey, will you stop jumping from one chair to another?
I can't help it, Trigger. Makes me nervous to stay in one place.
Well, then get out of here.
I can't. Not with you sick like that.
You're not doing me any good. Why don't you get out?
Hi, Chief.
Well, Trigger, I see you've quieted down. Not so independent like you were a couple of hours ago.
Well, I'm okay now, I suppose.
Petey, you can take a few minutes off. I'll stay with Trigger.
Thanks, Chief.
Now, are you gonna work for me, or do you want to be plugged by a cop?
I said I was staying.
Make sure you mean it. I've got a little job for you.
Oh? Who is it?
There's a little squirt of a reporter on the Daily Herald in this town, and he's out to cause trouble.
What's he done?
Shut his mouth off about me. Every day for the last week in his paper. He knows too much.
What's his name?
Jim Briggs.
Where can I contact him?
I don't know where he lives or what he looks like. Hogan, my outside man, is trying to get some dope on him before you go to work.
Right.
Okay. See you later. Pete.
Yeah, Chief.
Fred, Schmidt, and me are going out on some business. You stay and keep Trigger company.
Sure, Chief.
So long. So long.
Pete, how long have I been working for Al?
3 years about. Why?
It's funny me not remembering. Who'd I work for before?
I don't know. You never told me.
Do I have any friends, outside the mine?
I don't know. You didn't talk much.
How about family?
I guess you got some.
Where do they live?
I don't know.
Did you ever see me with a girl or anything?
Why are you asking all these questions?
Come on, Petey, tell me.
I don't know nothing, I tell you.
I don't understand, Petey. Can't you tell me anything about myself?
Will you quit pestering me?
Petey, did I ever serve time?
Yeah, I think you did.
What prison?
Stop it. Will you? Don't ask me no more questions.
I only asked you what...
I can't stand it. I just shut up. Questions. I gotta get out of here.
Petey! What's the matter with that guy? Yeah, come in.
Excuse me, sir. You mind if I do a bit of dusting?
No, not at all. Come on in.
Mr. Drake told me not to disturb you, but the dirty room kind of gets you down when you have to stay in it, don't it?
Yeah, it does.
That's a nasty knock you've got on your head.
It's nothing. I just bumped into a door.
Oh? Well, if you'd like, I'll send Dr. Reisner up. He's the hotel doctor. Very good he is.
No, it'll get better by itself.
Just as you say, sir. Well, I'll be on my way now. Just a lick and a promise, but I'll do a thorough job tomorrow.
Thanks. Oh, just pick up that piece of paper near the door, will you?
This one?
Yeah.
You want it?
Yes, please. Petey dropped it. I'll give it to him. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Here. Goodbye.
So long. Petey, tell Al everything's set for Trigger's burial. You supply body, Cogan. So they're going to get rid of me. Well, we'll see about that.
Trigger. Hey, Trigger.
Yeah?
Did you happen to see me drop a little piece of paper?
Piece of paper?
Yeah. When I went outside.
No, Petey. No, I didn't.
Our story is about a mind from which all memory has been erased. Its owner was brought to the headquarters of Al Drake's notorious gang in the Crescent Hotel. There, his history was taught him by Fred Booth, brains of the gang. There he was told that he was Trigger Martin who had killed many men. Even though he felt he could not go on with his murderous career, he knew he was bound to it by his past. But then he intercepted a message that indicated he was to be killed.
Everything's set for Trigger's burial. You supply body. Why do they want to kill me? The cops I can understand, but me, their own pal. I've got to get out of here. I've got to escape. I've got to.
Trigger,
What do you want?
snap out of it.
I wasn't doing anything, Schmidt.
You're sitting there thinking I don't like it.
Oh, what do you want me to do?
Talk.
Talk? I don't feel like talking.
Petey says you drove him nuts with your talking. Now you're quiet like a boneyard. Come on, talk.
All right, I'll talk. Do I have any family, Schmidt?
I didn't say for you to ask questions.
That's all I've got on my mind.
Well, keep to yourself then.
You don't like staying here with me, do you?
Al told me to. He said you shouldn't be left alone.
I'll be all right. I won't try to get away.
I didn't ask you that.
Oh, go ahead, Schmidt. I'll be okay. I'll play some of the records.
I don't want to get into no trouble with that.
You won't. Go on. Go on, take a little time off.
Thanks, Trigger. I'll see you.
Pick a good loud record. Stardust, St. Louis Blue, Darktown, Strutter's Ball. Look at this. Personal Recording Studios, Boardwalk, Atlantic City. Regards to Al and all the gang from Gloria and Trigger. This I gotta hear. Gloria.
We're having a great time here, and we just thought we'd send you like regards from the boardwalk. Come on, Trigger, say something. It won't hurt you, Say hello. Say anything.
Well, I just want to send our regards, Al. I mean, me and Gloria. How long do I have to talk, Gloria? Well, I just want to send our regards, Al. I mean, me and Gloria. How long do I have to talk, Gloria?
Say hello. Say anything.
Well, I just want to send our regards, Al. I mean, me and Gloria. How long do I have to talk,
I'm not Trigger, then. I'm not. But who am I? Do they know who I am? Why are they trying to tell me I'm Trigger Martin?
He's asleep now, Chief. Petey's standing outside the door.
Fred.
Yeah?
I don't like it.
Why not?
It's too smart. It won't work.
Oh, what's worrying you?
Someone's going to miss him. That means trouble.
Maybe he don't know anybody in town.
That chance. Get him out of here tomorrow. Kill him.
Not me. I don't like murder. Look, Chief, the guy is sold completely on the idea that he's Trigger.
Gives me the willies there. Trigger waiting to be buried, and this guy thinking he's him.
Oh, stop acting like Petey. Look, the guy gets in our way when we're doing a job. Schmidt knocks him out with his clumsy mitts. We can't leave him around. None of us wants to bump him off unless we have to. Then I come to the rescue.
We should have left him there.
If I'd known he'd lost his memory then, I would have. But this way, he's going to bump off Briggs, and we'll be in the clear. It's a perfect setup.
You hope.
Sure it is. I'll figure it out for yourself.
I don't know, Fred. I only wish I knew who he was.
Trigger.
Mm-hmm.
How you feeling?
Oh, much better today, Fred.
Your head all right?
Oh, sure. Al told me he had a job for me.
Yeah.
I think I could do it today.
You better do it today. That's what I came to talk to you about.
Al said the guy's name is Jim Briggs.
That's right. And if you know what's good for you, Trigger, you're going to get him, but fast. Look what he says in today's paper. The most flagrant flouter of the law in this gang of hoodlums is a vicious gunman who goes by the name of Trigger Martin. Of all the members of this organized crime syndicate, he should be the easiest to convict, for it is rumored that he is responsible for at least 6 cold-blooded murders. How about some action, Mr. Police Commissioner? What do you think about that, Trigger?
Let me see that.
What do you want to say it for? I read you the part about you.
I want to see it.
Okay, here, punish yourself.
The most flagrant flouter of the law in this gang of hoodlums is a vicious gunman by the name of Trigger Martin.
And how do you like that? That guy's going to see that you burn unless he gets shut up. Hey, what's eating you?
Fred, did I ever see this article before?
No, you couldn't have. Just come out today.
For a second, I thought...
You got no time to think, Trigger. The only thing that'll do you any good now is to get a hold of that Briggs and...
Yeah. You're right, Fred. Briggs. He's my man. Listen, Al, I've been waiting 3 hours. I can't stand it. I gotta get into action.
Take it easy, Trigger.
Let me track the guy down.
That's Petey's job.
Yeah, as soon as he's got the dope, I'll give the go sign.
But, Al, I'm a dead duck if I don't nail Briggs, and soon.
Yeah, you will be. But we can't afford to make any mistakes.
That's what I've been telling him, Chief, but he got all worked up about those newspaper articles.
Save it, Trigger, until...
Well, that must be Petey. Open up, Schmidt.
Okay, Fred.
Well, Petey.
Any luck?
I just get a line on this guy, Briggs.
Go ahead.
Don't rush me, Chief. Makes me nervous.
Come on.
The Herald got him in from Chicago to do this job on us. He's new to town.
That's why we don't know him.
Yeah, I guess so.
Where's he live?
He's got his office set up and his room's in the same place. Sends his stuff to the Herald over the phone.
Petey, where does he live?
Gee, Chief, didn't I tell you? 41 McDougal Alley in the basement. One of them garden apartments.
Did you get that, Trigger?
Sure. 41 McDougal Alley in the basement.
Okay, that's right. And here's your gun. Now get going.
McDougal Alley. 47. 45. 43. 41. Basement. Careful. Maybe a trap. Don't forget they've been lying all along. Careful. Careful. It's the door. Door to his apartment. Maybe he'll help me if he doesn't shoot me first. I'll try the door. It's not locked. It's dark. I'll light a match.
Jump it, Regan.
Okay, Crider.
Let me go. No, you don't.
Let me, Crider.
Let go of me. Watch it, Regan. He's got a gun.
I see.
Good work. Right on the head. He's out.
Well, that'll take care of them for a while.
It was a close call. Closest I've had since I joined the force.
Yeah. That gun ain't no toy.
He's coming around. Better snap the cuffs on him.
Right. Wonder what his angle is on the case.
I'll question him. Hey, come on. Come on, snap out of it.
Wake up, you.
My head.
Come on out of it.
What? Hey, who are you? What are you doing here?
That's just what we were going to ask you.
Well, this is my apartment. My name is Briggs, Jim Briggs.
Jim Briggs disappeared 3 days ago. We're working on the case.
If you're Jim Briggs, maybe you can tell us where you've been.
Half the police force has been looking for Briggs.
I don't know. I can't remember. All I know is that I'm Jim Briggs, and this is my apartment.
Yeah? Do you usually come into your apartment with a gun in your hand?
I don't know. All I remember is... I remember watching a gun battle.
You sure you weren't in it?
And then... Yeah, I remember now. A little. I was in a hotel somewhere in town with some men named Drake and Booth and Schmidt and Petey.
Hey, Crider, that's Al Drake's mob.
Yeah. And this guy is one of them. He must be that Trigger Martin character. You know, we never got pictures of any of them.
No, I'm Jim Briggs, I tell you. Look, give me a chance. I think I can lead you to their hideout. Please. I think I remember where it is.
Okay, Fred, this was your idea.
He'll come back, Al. I got that guy completely bamboozled.
Now, listen, Chief. I don't want to stay here and be trapped. They'll get us. They'll get us for sure.
Petey, shut up.
What'd I tell you? He's back.
Okay, open up, Schmidt. Well, Trigger, did you do it?
You told me to kill him, didn't you?
Stop the dramatics, of course I told you.
Well, I did it. I found the guy in his apartment. He was working at a desk. He looked up, and I gave it to him.
Let's have your gun, Trigger.
My gun? What for?
Come on, hand it over.
I threw it away.
I don't believe you. Schmidt, grab him.
No, you don't, Schmidt. Put up your hands. All of you.
Now, Trigger, no point in getting jumpy. How long do you think you'll get away with
Cut it. You know I'm not Trigger, and I know.
Whoever you are and whatever your game is, no one person doesn't stand a chance against four. You won't get out of here alive.
I think I will. Petey, open that door, quick.
Yeah, right away.
Come on in, Crider.
All right, you guys. Bundle these hoodlums into the wagon.
Did you get what you wanted, Crider?
Perfect. Direct evidence tying Drake to an attempted murder. We've been trying to get that for years.
Great work, Mr. Briggs.
Briggs, Booth, you idiot. We had the guy all the time.
Sure you had me. I didn't know it, and you didn't know it. Hey, that'll make a swell feature story. The case of the unidentified body, written by the corpse itself.
shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory in the haunting hour.
No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour. Breakdown. Sybil Wells' gray head lies wearily on her pillow. Her eyelids are closed, as if it were too great an effort to lift them. She can hear Dr. Adams and her nurse talking, but they seem distant, remote, much farther away than the thoughts in her own brain.
She'll be all right now, nurse. Just give her this every hour.
Very well, Dr. Adams. It's amazing she's pulled through, isn't it? I've been ill. Very ill. For how long, I could not even guess.
It was a close call, but then she's always had a good constitution. I've known her for many years.
Since I was 20. Since before it happened to Father.
No, it's not her physical health that worries me. She's always been high-strung, nervous, like her father was, before, well, I suppose you know.
Not my physical health. What does he mean? Why must he tell her that Father died in an insane asylum?
Poor Mr. Courtney. His family had to commit him. Mad as a March hare, of course. But each time I'd visit his cell, he'd plead that he was sane.
Yes, he'd plead he was sane. And his eyes would be wild and desperate. And dead of hope.
Sybil, I'm not mad. You're the only one who loves me, who cares if I live or die. Please, make the doctor understand. I've been railroaded here, Sybil, because I had money and they wanted it.
Oh, Daddy, I have to go now.
You don't believe me. You don't believe me either.
Oh, of course I do.
No. Oh, Lord, if you could only know how it feels to live among these dead and be considered one.
Oh, Daddy, please, please. I must go now. Goodbye.
Oh, Sybil. Sybil, I swear I'm sane. Sybil, I'm sane. I swear.
Tragic case. Well, I'll drop in tomorrow to see how she's doing.
Madness. The horror of vacuum. I guess I'd always feared it. I was sitting up in bed now. Except for the weakness, I could hardly recall that I'd been ill. Good morning, Nurse Kern.
Good morning, Mrs. Wells. I'll take that breakfast tray. And I think you're well enough to have the morning paper if you wish.
Oh, thank you. I haven't seen one for weeks. I settled back against the pillows and began to read. Earthquake, followed by fire, was yesterday for 33 miles along the shore. 14 people were many more injured. Authorities have the damage $4 million. It didn't make sense. I read another sentence, and then a different article. What was wrong with me? Oh, of course, my eyes. I'd been ill for so long, that's all it was. Nurse! Mrs. Curran! Yes, well? Nurse, will you please read this newspaper to me?
Why, of course. Is anything wrong? You look so...
Oh, no, everything's fine. It's just my eyes.
I see. Well, what shall I read?
This one.
Earthquake followed by fire was yesterday for 33 miles.
She read on. Her face was grave and slightly bored. She showed no surprise, no puzzlement. The words made sense to her. It was only I who couldn't understand them. Only I to whom they were a senseless jumble.
People learning...
Stop it! I don't want to hear anymore. Please, just leave me alone, Nurse Curran.
But, Mrs. Wells...
Leave me alone, I tell you! Leave me alone! That was the first discrepancy in my mind. I don't know how long I'd been hearing the music. It had seemed all part of a dream. But then it began to unnerve me. It became frenzied and hating and evil. It sounded like all the demons of hell and the things of the night were after me. Make it stop! Make it go away! Please!
Wells, what's the matter?
Oh, it's all right now. It's all right. The music's gone away.
The music? What music?
For a few days after that, it didn't bother me. Not till early one evening. I'd rung for Nurse Curran twice. Where was she? I was very angry. I got out of bed and went across the room to the door. Mrs. Curran! She was walking down the hall, her back toward me. And she had my little daughter by the hand. Elsie, my baby. Her sailor hat was bobbing over her curls as she skipped. She had on a blue flouncy dress and the long white stockings and Mary Jane she loved to wear. Elsie! Elsie, darling! Mrs. Curran! Why didn't they stop? They walked right on as if I hadn't spoken. Nurse! They turned the corner, then out of my sight. I began to run. Do you hear me? Stop, Mrs. Curran. I want to talk to you.
Why, whatever is the matter, Mrs. Wells?
Where's Elsie?
Elsie?
Yes, my daughter. I saw you walking down the hall with her, and then you turned this corner, and now she's gone. Where is she?
I assure you, Mrs. Wells, I was with no one. As a matter of fact, I didn't know you have a daughter.
Oh. Well, I haven't anymore. She was drowned with her father 20 years ago. I knew I had to be more cautious after that. For if Nurse Curran ever suspected, she'd tell the doctor. And I'd seen enough of those walls when I was a girl.
Well, how are you, Sybil? How does it feel to be downstairs for dinner?
Oh, if you're ready to eat, I'll start serving.
Why, Mrs. Curran, you needn't do that. Where's
Mary. Well, there wasn't much for her to do with you ill, Mrs. Wells, so when she asked to visit her sister for a few weeks, I didn't want to disturb you with details.
Oh, I see. That's all right, Mrs. Curran.
Then I'll get the soup.
Sybil, I've been worried about you.
Worried? Really?
You're not recuperating as quickly as you should. And, well, Curran's been telling me things that...
Yes. What has she said?
Oh, nothing much, really, but perhaps you're a bit more ill than we thought.
So she had noticed. I must be careful, very careful. Whatever happens, I must never let them send me there.
I said, will you have your soup, Mrs. Wells?
Oh, yes, please.
And you, Doctor?
Yes, thank you.
I took my first spoonful and could barely swallow it. The soup tasted far too salty. I was about to remark as much to the doctor when he said...
Delicious soup, Sybil.
Delicious. Oh, of course, George. Of course.
Sybil, what's wrong? You hardly touched a thing all through dinner.
Well, I guess I'm just not very hungry. Salt. Everything tasted of salt. First my sight, then my hearing, and now even this sense was playing me false. How long could I go on hiding what was happening to me? I think I should have resigned myself to insanity. If the very next afternoon I hadn't wakened early from my nap. I wanted some warm milk, and when Mrs. Curran didn't answer my ring, I went down to the kitchen myself. Nurse Curran, is that you? Oh, it was a child. A little blonde girl who greatly resembled my daughter. She was playing with a toy tea set.
Mother isn't here right now. She's gone to the village for some groceries. Would you like to have tea with me? It's only make-believe, of course.
Mrs. Curran is your mother?
Yes, I'm Jean.
She never told me she had a daughter, nor that the child was living in my house with her.
Here's your tea. Sugar or cream? Oh, I forgot. You only take salt in your food.
I only take salt? What do you mean, dear? I don't quite understand.
Oh, my mother explained to me. I asked her why she put so much salt in everything she brought you to eat last night. And that's what she said, that you only take salt in your food.
Jeannie, are you sure of that?
Yes, of course. I know who you are. You're Mrs. Wells, the funny lady we had to play a game with.
What kind of a game, Jeannie?
Well, dressing me in those funny clothes Mother found in the attic. And not looking around when you called to us. And then, when we turned the corner, I had to pop right into the linen closet and not make a sound until Mother called. It was like hide and seek. Only you didn't find me.
Yes, it had been a hideous, twisted parody of hide and seek. But at last I knew. I was not going mad. I had been terrified, blundering in the dark against an unknown opponent. But the game was clear to me now, and the rules, and the tricks, and most vital of all, my foe. Nurse Curran had tried to drive me mad, was still trying, but I could fight her. I had to fight her, for the stake was my sanity.
I guess that's Mommy now.
Now, Jeannie, listen to me. Your mother mustn't know I was down here talking to you.
Why, Mrs. Wells? Why shouldn't I tell her? Why, Mrs. Wells? Why shouldn't I tell her?
Well, it's a game, Jeannie. It's like that hide and seek we played, remember? Please promise you won't say anything about my seeing you this afternoon.
I promise. I promise, Mrs. Wells.
I needed patience now, and cunning. Mrs. Curran was trying to destroy my reason. I couldn't let her succeed, but I needed definite evidence. And then one day, a letter came. A letter? From me, Mrs. Curran?
Yes, it's postmarked New York City.
Well, now, who would be writing me from there? It's from my brother, Frank. He's coming to see me and bringing a friend of his along. Someone who can help me, he says.
When does he arrive, Mrs. Wells?
On the 24th, the 3:30 train.
Well, he didn't give you much warning. That's today, you know.
I wonder why he's coming.
You're his sister, and you're ill. What better reason?
Frank and I have always loathed each other. He's not traveling all this way for affection's sake.
It might be nice if I met the train.
Well, if you think he'd appreciate it, you're very much mistaken. By the time you get there, he'll probably have chartered the most expensive car in town anyway. Frank's a spendthrift and a wastrel. He ran through his share of my father's estate before Daddy was cold in his grave.
Just the same, it would be a nice thing to do, wouldn't it, Mrs. Wells?
Well, you know where the car keys are if you insist on being polite. Go ahead and meet him. Yes?
Special delivery for Mrs. Agnes Curran. That's your nurse, ain't it, Miss Wells?
Oh, yes, it is. I'll take it, Postman. She's not in right now.
I'm awfully sorry this is late, ma'am. But you see, one of our sorters put it in the regular mail route bag, and I only just discovered it.
Oh, I don't suppose there's any great harm done.
Oh, well, thank you. I hope not. Well, goodbye, ma'am.
Goodbye. I shut the door quickly and stood turning the letter over in my hands, for I had suddenly recognized the writing on the envelope. It was Frank's. And how could he know the name of my private nurse unless they knew each other? George hadn't corresponded with him, I was sure. He was aware of the hatred between us. I quickly ripped the envelope.
Dear Agnes, just a line to let you know of Jean's safe arrival. I think your fears that Sybil saw her and suspects you are groundless, but perhaps it is safest this way. I feel sure that by this time my dear sister has passed, or at any rate is near, the breaking point. I'm coming down next Thursday and will bring a specialist with me. I am certain that when she tells him of her hallucinations, shall we call them, he will have no hesitancy in declaring her insane.
There it was. The whole fiendish scheme. I held all the proof I needed right in my hands. I called George and asked him to come over as quickly as he could. And then I'd barely gotten upstairs when I heard the front door open.
Sybil! Sybil!
Please, Mr. Courtney, she may have fallen asleep. She's still rather weak, you know.
Of course. I understand.
If you and Dr. Randall make yourselves comfortable, I'll go upstairs and see how she is.
Splendid idea, nurse. Mrs. Kern, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
If only George would come. Now the showdown was at hand, I was frightened. The nearer she came, the more frantically my heart beat. These next few minutes would decide so much for me. And I was alone. I felt sick with terror at having to face Mrs. Curran without George's comforting presence to reassure me, to make me know that everything would be all right. Because if I played my hand wrong now, if I couldn't convince the specialist of my sanity, I might never spend another night in the sun.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I startle you, Mrs. Wells?
Well, I didn't hear you come in.
Your brother and Dr. Randall are in the parlor.
Oh, yes?
Well, don't you want to come down and see them?
We're not leaving this room just yet, Nurse Curran. Not until we settle a few things.
But I don't understand. Is there anything wrong, Mrs. Wells?
No. I'm just curious. Where did you have that trick newspaper printed? What? And how did you manage the music that night? Was it a phonograph record played from your room directly into the ventilator?
I don't get what you're talking
Oh,
about.
yes, you do. I've known for almost a week what you were up to, young lady. But I wasn't sure just why you were doing it or who was behind you. I am now.
You're crazy. I felt it all along. You're mad.
Oh, no, my dear. That was your aim, but you didn't succeed. You see this letter? The same stationery as the one I received today. The same handwriting, too. But this was written to you, Mrs. Curran. Fortunately, it wasn't delivered till after you'd left the house.
Give me that.
Oh, no. No. You'll have to kill me to get that. And I'd rather be dead than be in an institution. And we wouldn't want too loud a scene with that specialist downstairs, would we? He's not in my brother's pay, is he?
No. All right. You win. I was working for Frank. He promised me a share in the estate.
Why, I can't believe it. I simply can't believe it.
George. Oh, thank heaven.
Now, Sybil, don't cry. You know she almost had me fooled, Sybil.
Oh, and here's the proof, George. A letter that Frank wrote to her.
Dear Agnes, coming down next Thursday, declaring her insane. Sybil, you'd better go downstairs and bring Dr. Randall and your precious brother up here immediately.
10 minutes before, I'd gone down these steps, an old woman. But everything was different now. The shadow had been lifted. I was free again.
Well. My dear sister, Sybil.
Don't you dare sister me, Frank.
Why, Sybil, and here I brought Dr. Randall all this way to see you.
To see me, indeed. To declare me insane so you could get your foul claws on the rest of Father's money.
Sybil, what are you saying?
I don't think I understand, Mrs. Wells.
I told her she was...
Mad? Insane? Yes, I'm sure you did. And it's no fault of yours that I'm not. Dr. Randall, a few weeks ago I was very ill. My brother took advantage of that by planting Nurse Curran with me. She took all her orders from him, and those orders were to drive me insane.
Oh, I never heard of such a thing. I hadn't realized she was quite so badly off as this, Randall.
Oh, there's no use your blustering anymore, Frank. George Adams has written proof upstairs. The letter you sent Mrs. Curran.
Why, I never wrote her my whole life. I never met the girl till today.
Suppose we go and see what this is all about. Well, Courtney?
Oh, of course. As you say, Doctor.
Frank's face was gray. Perspiration beaded his brow as we went back up to my bedroom. George and Mrs. Curran were standing by the window quietly when I opened the door. Here they are, George.
Yes. Thank you, Sybil.
Well, aren't you going to show Dr. Randall the letter?
What letter, Sybil?
The one Frank wrote Mrs. Curran. The one
There isn't any letter, Sybil.
But I gave it to you just before I went downstairs.
Mrs. Wells told me she had definite proof that Mr. Courtney was planning to railroad her.
It's terrible how convincing they can be. Isn't it, Randall? How very convincing.
I see.
George! George!
I could hardly bear to recognize those first signs, Dr. Randall. I've known Sybil for 30 years. She was very dear to me.
What did you do with it? Is it burned or torn into little pieces in your pocket, George? Where's that letter?
But I'm too much of a physician to blind myself to facts. She'll be happier.
Behind those walls, George, those walls where you and Frank put my father.
Come, Mrs. Wells. You'd better come with me.
No, you can't believe them. They're lying. No, please, no.
You'd better take her right to the sanitarium. It's not safe to keep her here another day.
Yes, I'm afraid you're right.
I'll help you with her. We can use my car.
Don't touch me, George. Don't you come near me. Get your hands off me.
Adams, let her go. You seem to excite her unduly. Now, please, Mrs. Wells, take my arm. You know we want to do what is best for you.
Dr. Randall, please, I swear this on my eternal soul. There was a letter. It was special delivery written by my brother Frank to Nurse Curran.
I wish I could believe you, Mrs. Wells.
Watch your step, Sybil.
Don't be so solicitous, George. I'd rather you'd kill me than betray me as you have.
If there were one shred of evidence on your side, Mrs. Wells, one slightest bit of proof.
Oh, say, I beg your pardon, Miss Wells. I had to come all the way back again. I forgot to have you sign this slip. on that special delivery for Mrs. Curran.
Adams, give me those car keys. And turn around. We're going back into that house. I think we've got a few things to discuss.
Shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory. In the haunting hour. No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour.
The Hands of Mr. Smith. Midnight. An alleyway, dark and ominously quiet, in the dimly lighted factory district on the outskirts of a big city. In the black shadows, two men wait, their hats pulled down over their eyes, their hands tense in their overcoat pockets. Suddenly, one of the men leans forward in the velvet darkness to peer down the deserted street.
I don't see him, Russ.
He'll be along.
I can hardly wait to get my hands on that dough.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Russ. My hands. The way they're shaking.
Take it easy, Tiny.
It's funny. Every time I wait in the stick up a guy, my mitts get shaken like this.
You keep them paws under control.
Oh, sure.
I'm not kidding.
Oh, I won't do nothing. I won't touch the guy.
Remember that.
But why don't he come, Russ?
Get back here.
But where is he? I can see the factory door, but he ain't come out yet.
Get back here, I said.
Okay.
Listen.
A car's coming.
Cops.
Huh?
Police car.
A couple of lousy cops. Shut up. But maybe they'll spot our car. Maybe they'll stop and start looking around.
I said shut up.
Oh, look, they're going by. They ain't stopping.
Stand still.
They turned the corner.
Oh, that's better.
Gee. Now my hands are shaking worse than ever.
I told you to keep them big paws quiet.
I'm trying to, Russ. A guy can't do more than that.
Don't do it. When this cashier comes along, keep your hands in your pocket, and you won't be tempted.
I'll remember. I won't touch him, Russ.
Here he comes.
Are you sure?
That's him. He's all alone. He just came out of the factory.
He's carrying something.
A paper bag. He's got the dough in a paper bag.
This is one trip to the bank he ain't never going to finish.
Steady now. Okay, mister, get him up.
Well, who are you? Get him up, the man said.
Take the bag, Tiny.
Don't shoot. I won't yell. He won't yell, he says.
Take that bag, Tiny, you sap.
I don't like this guy.
Keep your hands down, Tiny.
Give me that bag.
Sure. I said I would.
How much is in here?
$3,000.
$3,000? Listen, you punk.
Stop! Go of me.
Cut it out, Tiny.
But only $3,000, he said.
Stop. joking.
I don't like you.
Let go of him, Tiny.
But I don't like him. He looks like that guard at the big house. I give you the money. Yeah, and I'm giving you something.
Stop, Tiny. Let go or I'll knock you cold.
Yeah, this guy won't stand still.
Drop him. Let go.
Okay. I'll let him go.
You killed him.
Huh?
You killed him, you sap. He's dead.
But he looked just like that guard that slugged me.
Get in the car.
We're going to leave him here?
Get in the car, I said.
Where's the door?
I got it. Get in. Move.
But Russ, him laying there, suppose them cops come back.
Shut the door. We're getting out of here.
Hey, Russ, where are we going? This ain't the way to the apartment.
We're not going to the apartment.
Oh, why not? I told Claire I'd bring the money home tonight.
Keep watching that rearview mirror.
There ain't no cops on our trail. But where are we going,
We're
Russ?
ditching this car, you dope.
Oh, yeah. Sure, we don't need this hot jalopy no more tonight.
I thought I told you to keep your hands off that cashier.
Oh, now listen, Russ.
We had this stick up in the bag, but you had to go and scrag the guy.
I didn't mean to kill him, but there was something about him, and once I got my mitts on his throat...
I know you can't make those big paws behave.
I'm sorry, Russ.
I had my rod on him. All you had to do was take the bag, get in the car while I knocked him cold, and we had smooth sailing.
I said I was sorry, Russ.
You're always sorry.
But look, we got the $3,000, didn't we? We're in the clear. Nobody saw us. Nobody heard us.
What do you mean, us? I didn't kill him.
Hey.
What's the matter?
Back there. I think a prowl car just turned the corner.
Oh, is it?
No. That ain't no prowl car. Just a black sedan like this one. They pulled up the curb.
We'll turn off at the next corner, brain.
Plenty deserted around here. Why don't we stop here?
Go on a little further along where it's darker.
Yeah, Claire's going to wonder what's happened. I said I'd be at the apartment by 12:30.
Claire'll know soon enough.
Yeah. Wait till I show her the $3,000 we got.
Wait till she hears about the murder.
Oh, I won't tell her tonight.
No, she can read it in the morning papers.
Hey, you know, we're getting kind of far out of town. When are we going to stop?
Right here. I'll pull off the road. Okay. We'll leave her here.
Yeah, that's a good spot. Not even a house in sight.
Give me your gun, Tiny.
My gun?
Your gat. Give it to me.
But what for?
To keep you out of trouble.
Now listen, Russ.
Now, we're leaving this car. We're walking to the nearest bus line. If there's a cop on the bus and he looks at you twice, you're going to start shooting, so hand over your rod.
Okay, here it is.
That's better. And now, Tiny, give me the money.
Huh?
The paper bag with the money. Hand it over.
Hey, what is this?
Give me the money, Tiny.
Oh, sure. Here it is. Come on, now let's get out of this car.
Sit still.
Huh?
You're staying here.
Wait a minute.
Keep those hands quiet.
Hey, Russ, watch that gun. You're pointing it right at me.
You said it. I'm washed up with you, and so's Claire.
Claire?
Yeah, Claire, your wife. She's fed up to the teeth, so am I.
You and Claire... Oh, so that's why you didn't drive the apartment. That's why you came way out here. You and Claire crossing me up. You're figuring I'm bumping me off?
That's right.
Give me that gun.
You bet I will.
Oh, Russ, I'll get you for this. I'll get Claire and you if I have to dig my way out of my own grave.
We gotta beat it, Russ. We gotta pack up and beat it out of here tonight.
What, at 2 o'clock in the morning? Not on your life. We're staying here until this whole thing blows over.
But that cashier, maybe the cops have found him already. They're bound to find him soon. They're bound to find Tiny.
What of it, Claire? They can't connect it up with you and me.
I'm scared, Russ. Suppose Tiny wasn't dead. Suppose he drove the car back here to the apartment somehow.
You must believe in ghosts.
He said he'd get us, didn't he? He said he'd get us if he had to dig his way out of his own grave.
Oh, I shouldn't have told you that.
Come on. Let's get out of here.
Nothing doing, Claire. We're staying right here. Come on, baby. Unlock the trunk.
The trunk?
Sure. We'll hide the dough in your trunk until this whole thing blows over. Come on, honey. Unlock it.
It is unlocked.
This lid is kind of rusty, huh? There we are. I'll shove this $3,000 under all these clothes.
Those are Tiny's clothes.
Oh, come on. Relax, Claire. Now let me lock it.
Wait.
What's the matter?
You've locked the trunk.
Oh, sure.
But Tiny has the only key. He always carries it with him.
Well, what about it? We'll get another one. I'll have a new one made tomorrow.
What was that?
Sounded like glass breaking.
It was here in the apartment somewhere.
Maybe it wasn't.
I'm sure it was. Sounded like it came from the bathroom.
Well, let's find out.
Wait a minute.
What for?
Have your gun ready.
My gun?
That window in the bathroom. Maybe Tiny climbed up the fire escape.
Oh, will you forget Tiny? He's dead, I tell you. Come on. Let's find out what that noise was. There, you see? There's no one in the bathroom.
The window's open. I closed it and locked it tonight before you and Tiny left.
Oh, now listen, Claire.
Look. Look, there on the windowsill.
What's the matter now?
Blood. Blood on the windowsill. Yeah. And here, on the floor, more of it. I tell you, Tiny did come back. He drove that car back here, climbed the fire escape, and he's hiding here in the apartment waiting to kill us.
Quiet, Claire, quiet.
I'm getting out of here.
Oh, no, you're not. You go flying down the street at this time of night, and some cop will pick you up as sure as my name's Rogers.
But that blood on the sill, on the floor, the window open.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, this stuff on the floor, this isn't blood?
Of course it's blood.
Oh, Claire, you're wrong. Look, there, under the bathtub.
What is it?
A bottle. A little bottle of that stuff you paint your nails with.
I kept that bottle on the windowsill.
All right, okay. So the wind, something blew it off. That's what we heard. This bottle breaking. That's what made those spots in here.
Listen.
Police car.
Sounded like it. Stopped in front of the building.
Soon find out. Come on to the living room.
Suppose they followed Tiny here. Suppose he drove the car back here.
Will you stop talking about Tiny? Put out the lights.
What for?
Put out the lights, Claire.
All right.
Now, I'll peek under this window shade and see where that police car is.
Are they out front?
Yeah, they are. 2 cops in front of the building.
What are they doing?
They're looking at a car.
What car?
A black sedan parked in front of the building.
You said the car you used tonight was a black sedan.
All right, there's a million black sedans in this country, Mike.
But why are the cops looking at the one out front? Why are they putting their flashlights on the running board? Why are they looking inside?
How do I know?
Because Tiny drove it here. He isn't dead. You didn't kill him. He drove that car back here, climbed the fire escape, and he's in the apartment somewhere waiting to get it. Somebody at the door. Shh. So what are you going to do?
Open up.
Police.
Open up, Smith. We want in.
Now, back to our story. The Hands of Mr. Smith. The midnight robbery of a cashier by 2 gunmen, Russ Rogers and Tiny Smith, developed swiftly into murder. Tiny, a powerful man with enormous hands, seized the cashier by the throat and killed him. Rogers, furious at his partner's stupidity, then shot Smith and left him in the black sedan in which they had made their getaway. With the stolen money, Rogers hurried to Smith's apartment. There, with Smith's wife, Claire, he hid the money in an old trunk. Suddenly,
A police siren sounded outside the building. Then the buzzer to the Smiths' apartment hummed like an angry bee.
Somebody's at the door.
Open up, Smith.
The police. What are we going to do?
Put on the lights.
You're going to give yourself up?
Let me handle this. Put on the lights.
Okay.
Open up in there, Mr. Smith. We want in.
Well, just a minute. I'm coming.
You folks are heavy sleepers.
What's the matter, officer?
There's a black sedan parked in front of the building with a lot of blood on the running board.
Blood?
Yeah. All over the running board and a lot more inside.
Well, what's it got to do with us? We don't own a car.
You don't, huh?
No.
Maybe you know whose car it is then. Take a look out the window.
I already did.
I thought you just got out of bed.
I did. I heard the siren out front, came in the living room, and looked out the window. I went back to put on some clothes to go downstairs and find out what it was all about.
Who owns that car out front?
I don't know. I never saw it in my life before.
Where's the janitor to this joint?
Janitor? I don't know. He probably...
Mr. Monks and his wife live in the basement.
There's nobody home.
Sometimes the Monks stay overnight with Mrs. Monk's sister. She lives over in Glendale somewhere.
Do the Monks own a car?
Not that I know of.
Who lives in the apartment above this one?
Let's see.
An old bachelor. A man named Weaver.
Maybe that black sedan belongs to him.
We wouldn't know.
Okay, folks. Sorry to get you out of bed at this time in the morning.
That's all right, officer.
I'll go up and talk to this Weaver guy.
Maybe that stuff on the running board ain't blood, huh?
It's blood, all right. Good night.
Good night, officer.
You're lying to me, Russ. That black sedan out front is the one you killed Tiny in.
Now listen, Claire.
Tiny didn't die. He drove the car back here.
I tell you, you're nuts. Tiny's dead. That car in front of the building only looks like the one I used tonight.
Then how do you explain the blood on the running board? How do you explain the blood inside?
I can't explain it.
I can, because it's the car you shot Tiny in. He came back here. He's hiding in the apartment somewhere, waiting to kill us. He said he'd dig his way out of his own grave to get us.
Oh, what a sap I was to tell you that.
Let's get away, Russ. Let's beat it out of here.
And leave that $3,000 locked in the trunk?
Why did you have to lock that trunk? I told you Tiny had the only key.
And I told you I'd have another key made in the morning.
Listen.
I heard it.
Somebody's out in the kitchen.
Oh, don't be a sap. There's no one in this apartment but you and me.
Then what was that noise?
I don't know. Probably the cat knocked over something on the kitchen table.
There it is again. I tell you, Tiny's here.
Tiny's dead. He's dead. Do you hear me? In that car, 2 miles away.
Wait. Where are you going?
I'm going out in the kitchen.
Don't leave me alone.
I'm not leaving you alone. You're coming with me. Maybe you believe in ghosts. I don't. Come on.
Look. Look, in the bedroom.
Oh, it can't be. That's impossible.
I knew it. I knew he'd come back.
But it can't be. It can't be Tiny. We're seeing things.
Why doesn't he say something? Why doesn't he do something? Why does he just lie there on the bed?
I'm going in the bedroom.
No, don't go near him.
I'm going to get the key to that trunk.
Don't touch him, Russ. Don't go near him.
But Tiny has the key. You told me I got to get it out of his pocket. We'll get the money and beat it.
He isn't breathing. His eyes. I can't look at them.
All right, steady now. I'll slip my hand in his pocket. I got it. I got the key.
Hello, Russ.
Let go of my wrist.
I said I'd come back, Russ.
Let go of my wrist.
Drop the key.
Claire, get the gun out of my back pocket.
A gun won't help you, Russ. You ought to know that now.
You're breaking my wrist.
Then drop the key on the bed.
Okay. I dropped it.
That's my pal. Claire.
Don't come near him, Claire.
Take the key, Claire.
Don't come near him, I tell you.
Pick up the key. Come around on the other side of the bed and get it.
Yes, Tiny.
You've always been a good wife, Claire. Take the key. The money we got tonight belongs to you.
Tiny, with this money, we can all get away.
Sure we can. Pick up the key. Don't be afraid.
All right. I will.
Now.
Stop! Let go of me!
Now we're all together again.
Your hand is breaking my wrist.
We're all together again. You and me and Russ.
Russ, why don't you do something?
Yeah, Russ. Why don't you do something?
I can't even move.
These big hands of mine, they're better than a gun. They can hold you two here, maybe forever.
Go on, Monks. Push the buzzer again.
Ah, Dora, it's only 8 o'clock in the morning. The Smiths don't get up this early.
We'll get him up. I'm going to find out about this.
I'm going back downstairs and finish my breakfast.
You are not. You're the janitor of this building, and you're supposed to know what's going on with the tenants.
Well, that don't mean I got to wake them up and ask them foolish questions.
I want to know if the man we heard about on the radio is our Mr. Smith.
It can't be.
How do you know? Go on. Push the buzzer.
We've had enough trouble last night over to your sister's house. Why go looking for more?
This ain't looking for trouble. If it was him, we got to know sooner or later, and I want to know now.
Sure going to be mad.
I want to know, that's all. You never can tell with tenants. Who'd think that mild old Mr. Weaver was the kind to go out hunting wild animals?
That's different.
All right. Stop the buzzer, Monks. You've buzzed long enough to wake the dead.
For crying out loud, Dora. This is a fine way to start the day. I haven't
Try the door.
I haven't...
The door, Monks. Go on, try it. Maybe it's unlocked.
All right. Hey, it is unlocked.
Well, go on, open it and go on in.
Hey, they got the lights in the living room all turned on.
I knew it. I tell you, there's something wrong with them Smiths.
For crying out loud. Do you see what I see, Dora?
Money. It's money laying all over the floor.
They must have been storing that money in that trunk. Look, it's open.
Yeah. Some money inside of it, too.
Well, the Smiths never had so much money.
As far as we knew. There was always something fishy about them Smiths. And their friend, too, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah. Hey, what are we going to do?
What's that?
Someone in the bedroom. It don't sound like Mr. Smith.
No, that's not Mr. Smith.
Come on, let's get out of here.
Are you crazy? We're going to find out what's the matter here. We're going into that bedroom.
No, be careful, Dora. There's no telling who it is.
Wait. Don't go no further.
Hey, it's Mr. Rogers.
Yes. What in the world's happened to him?
Listen to what he's saying.
The car with blood all over it. That was Tiny's car. He came back.
Oh, he must have seen Mr. Weaver's car outside with all the blood on it. You'd better tell that old gent that he's scaring the other tenants. It's none of our business if he wants to go off shooting wild animals. But to bring him home dripping blood, it's enough to scare the wits out of anyone.
Blood dripping. It was Tiny's blood.
Now, Mr. Rogers, that was deer blood. Mr. Weaver's upstairs went hunting yesterday.
No, make them let me go. Make them take the cuffs off.
Cuffs?
Tiny did it. He clamped me to the bed.
You're not clamped to the bed, Mr. Rogers. Your sleeve's caught in the rod at the edge of the bed.
Monks, look at his hair. He didn't have white hair when he was here yesterday.
What happened, Mr. Rogers? What happened to you?
Tiny did it. He put his hands around her throat. Tiny did it.
Oh, he's out of his head.
Dora, it's true. On the other side of the bed, Mrs. Smith. She's on the floor.
Oh, maybe she's fainted.
No, there's marks on the neck. Say, Rogers, cut the act. Maybe you killed her.
Tiny did it. With his hands on her throat, make him get off the bed. Make him get off the bed and open these cuffs. Make him get off the bed.
There's no one on the bed, Mr. Rogers.
Don't lie to me. I can see him. He's right in front of me lying on the bed.
But, Mr. Rogers, the bed's empty. The spread hasn't even a wrinkle in it.
But I see him. It's Tiny, I tell you.
It couldn't be Mr. Smith. Even if something was there, it couldn't be Mr. Smith.
It couldn't?
No, he was killed. Police found him with 4 bullets in him. He was in a black sedan, they said. We heard it on the radio this morning. They found him dead about 2 miles from here.
Yes, they described him on the radio, too. And we knew it was Mr. Smith. He died about 12:30 last night.
Yeah, they said he had big hands, like Mr. Smith.
But the funny thing is, he had a key in his hand.
A key?
Yes, Mr. Rogers, a trunk key. A little trunk key in one of his great big hands.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory in the haunting hour.
No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment. For this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour.
Homicide House. Our story begins late at night in one of the rooms of an exclusive Florida hotel.
Hello. Hello?
Mr. Hubertus Van Cleek?
Yes.
This is Special Investigator Collins of the Miami Police.
Indeed. Well, what the devil is the idea of waking a man in the middle of the night?
I'm sorry, Mr. Van Cleek, but we have reason to believe that your life is in danger.
My life in danger? Nonsense. Who would want to do away with me?
I don't know, sir, but this is a warning. Be sure your door is locked, and your windows, too. You've been followed by...
I know that. I've been followed by a pack of idiots who want to sell me everything from insurance to yachts. I'm used to that, and I know how to deal with these parasites. Now, good night, Mr. Collins.
But, Mr. Van Cleek...
Good night, sir. A fool. Ringing me up at this time of night to tell me that my... who's there? Who's at the window?
Hanson, managing editor. Oh, it's you, Senator. No, sir, the New York Clarion will not retract that statement. This is an independent newspaper. What? You'll take us to court? Go ahead. We've got all the facts on that waterways project, and we can prove them by affidavit. Sorry, Senator, I haven't time to argue with you. I'm a busy man.
Hi, Chief. What's doing?
Sit down, you two. I've got an assignment I want you to handle together.
Say, Chief, if it's about that phony waterways deal, why, that's just my dish.
No, Bill, it isn't the waterways project.
Oh.
You remember the Hubertus Van Cleek murder case down in Florida a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, he was shot in some hotel room. Huh?
By a murderer. Murder's unknown.
That's right. Well, as you know, old Hubertus was the last of his line. One of the oldest and wealthiest society families in New York.
Yeah, the Van Cleeks had plenty in the sock, all right.
And there wasn't even a will.
Yes. Now, here's the angle. Every Van Cleek, from Hubertus right back to old Theodore, the original settler, has died by violence. For some reason, not one ever died a natural death. Remember Claudius Van Cleek?
Yeah, I've heard about him. He was a little before my time. A Wall Street speculator, wasn't he?
Yes. Well, he ruined thousands of people in the market. And one of them finally stuck a knife into him.
Ah.
That left 2 sons and 1 daughter. Hubertus, Hector, and Abigail.
Well, we know what happened to Hubertus. But what about Hector and Abigail?
Well, back in 1898, they took a boat called the Portland for Europe to escape the disgrace of what their father done. But the Portland went down in a storm off Cape Cod, and so did Hector and Abigail.
Yeah, well, all that's very interesting, Chief, but it's old stuff. What's the story?
Now, wait a minute. I'm coming to that. I just got a tip that a syndicate in town is going to tear down the old Van Cleek mansion overlooking the East River and build a new skyscraper on the property.
That's just as well. That old mausoleum's an eyesore. It's been boarded up for years.
I still don't see
I want the whole Van Cleek story from soup to finger bowls for our Sunday supplement. Hit this mysterious tradition of sudden death in the Van Cleek family hard. Give me plenty of color and the flavor of the past. Go down with Maureen here and take a good look at the old Van Cleek mansion so that you can write about it intelligently. And we'll want pictures.
Well, doesn't sound very exciting. Look, Chief, if you give us that water...
Your assignment, Mr. Foster, is the Van Cleek story. Now get out, and don't slam the door.
I knew I should have been a radio commentator. Come on, Maureen. Okay, driver, here you are.
Well, this is the Van Cleek house, Bill.
Yeah, just a nice, big, gloomy sandstone tomb.
Wonder if those boards on the windows are just to keep the light out or the ghosts in.
I guess this is the kind of place they call a Victorian monstrosity, huh?
It's terribly big.
Yeah, I'll bet that syndicate Hanson was talking about will have to pay plenty for this property.
Well, they can have it, Bill. No wonder Hubertus Van Cleek closed and boarded it up back in the 90s. I don't see how anyone could live in there.
Hey, it's beginning to snow, honey. Come on, let's walk up this driveway.
We're not going in, are we?
No, there's no way to get in. We'll just take a couple of pictures, front and back, and then scram. I got the flashbulb set in it. What was that?
Sounded like a shot.
Yeah, and it came from inside the house.
Inside? But Bill, no one's been inside that house for almost 50 years.
There's someone in there now.
Well, then it must be a ghost.
If it is, he's up to no good. Come on, Maureen. We're going to get in and have a look around.
Bill, where are we?
Well, in the cellar, obviously. But more than that, in the wine cellar. You smell the champagne?
Yes.
It's funny how the odor of wine would still be here after 50 years.
Bill, is it safe to use your flashlight in here?
Well, in view of that shot we heard, no. We've got to see where we're going. Yeah. Nice place for murder, huh?
Look at all those spider webs. Why, the place is practically covered with them.
Hey, never mind the spider webs. Look at those bottles on the shelves. Champagne, imported. 1876, 1879, Why, the place is loaded with vintages.
Yes. But why should we be able to smell the wine?
I don't know. We'd better try to find a way upstairs. That's shut.
Bill.
Yeah. Footsteps.
Someone's upstairs.
No doubt about it.
Bill, maybe we better get out and call the police.
What? And ruin a good story? Here, Maureen. You carry my camera. I want my hands free, just in case.
All right. Where are we going now?
There's only one place to go. Upstairs. This must be the door leading to the first floor. Uh-huh. It's open, too. Come on.
That door makes enough noise to wake the dead.
I'm not worried about the dead. It's that live ghost somewhere in this big Victorian barn that I'm worried about.
What kind of a place is this? It's tremendous.
Looks like the grand ballroom.
Shades of the gay 90s. So this is where the 400 played in the mauve decade.
Yeah, gaslight fixtures and all.
Oh, those awful statues and statuettes. They're horrible.
Yeah, they ought to open this place up as a museum. Hey, here's a neat little piece. I can carry it in one hand, too.
Why?
We're chasing a ghost, do you remember? And he's got a gun. We haven't. This little stone figure might come in handy. See what I mean?
He's up there now, on the second floor.
Yeah, and sooner or later, we'll catch up to him. this seems to be the main second-floor corridor.
Mm-hmm. Bill, do you notice something?
What?
Seems clean here. So someone lived here on the second floor.
Yeah, you're right. It's warmer, too. And there's no musty smell.
And no spider webs.
Wonder what that means.
Bill.
Well, seems that our friend the ghost not only likes to shoot off guns, but he likes to tickle the ivories, too.
Maybe he heard us.
Come on, Maureen. This is it. You stay behind me. I'll go first just in case.
All right, Bill. But be careful.
Yeah, come on.
This is the room. I think I can even make out the piano.
Yeah, but there doesn't seem to be anyone here.
Huh? Bill.
I shouldn't move if I were you. You see, it might be quite unhealthy.
Bill, there's a man lighting a candle.
Yeah.
Look, why he's got mutton chop whiskers and he's dressed in old-fashioned formal clothes.
Who are you?
My name is Hodgkins. I'm the Van Cleek butler.
The Van Cleek butler? Well, that can't be. All the Van Cleeks are dead.
I must differ with you, madam. I was just entertaining the Van Cleeks with a piano selection when you interrupted.
Maureen, he's nuts.
Who are you, and why are you prowling about the premises?
Oh, we're from the New York Clarion.
Yes, it's the truth. See, the name of our paper's printed on the side of this camera.
Well, we heard a shot, and
I'm sorry, sir, but you heard no shot.
Now, wasn't that a shot?
Only a door slamming shut. This is a large establishment with considerable air currents and drafts. That is no doubt what you heard when you forced entry.
Oh, yes, Bill. It must have been a door slamming.
And now I must ask you to leave the premises at once.
Hodgkins, who is it?
We have callers, eh? Undesirable callers, Mr. Van Cleek.
Bill, look how they're dressed. The styles of 50 years ago.
We haven't had callers in the longest time. How nice.
Now, Abigail.
Oh, come, Hector. Ask our guests to sit down. Hodgkins, set the table for 4.
4, but madam...
4 place settings, Hodgkins, please.
Yes, madam.
Are you... Do I understand that you're Abigail Van Cleek?
Oh, yes. And this is my brother, Hector.
But you're supposed to be dead. You drowned back in 1898 when a ship went down.
There must be some mistake. As you see, we're very much alive. We haven't had the pleasure, however...
Oh, I'm Bill... Mr. William Foster.
Oh.
This is Miss Maureen Davis. We're both from the New York Daily Clarion.
The Clarion?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I've never heard of it. Of course, we read only the Tribune. Is it a new paper?
New? I wouldn't exactly say so, Miss Van Cleek. It was started back in 1903.
Well, strange. Very strange. This is 1898, isn't it, Hector?
Why, of course, my dear. I'm afraid these lovely people are a little confused. Everyone knows it's 1898.
Oh, sure, of course. Well, we better be going.
Going? Oh, no. I've already given Hodgkins his instructions. You're staying for dinner.
Oh, why,
I'm afraid we couldn't.
Oh, please, we're so lonely. We haven't had any guests in the longest time.
Well,
We'd be delighted to have you. Say you'll stay.
Well, of course. Thank you very much. We'll be glad to.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Oh, good. Oh, you people are so kind. I must talk to Hodgkins about the dinner at once.
I'll go with you, my dear. You'll pardon me, won't you?
Oh, sure, of course.
Bill, I just can't believe it.
Neither can I.
What do you mean?
I'm still not sure that loud report we heard was a door slamming. It still sounded like a shot to me.
Bill Foster and Maureen Davis, New York reporters, have entered the old Van Cleek mansion, closed and boarded up for 50 years. As far as they know, all the Van Cleeks are dead, the last of the line, Hubertus, having been killed in Florida. But now they meet 2 apparitions apparently out of the past and living in the old Victorian house. These are Hector and Abigail Van Cleek, who believe they are living in the year 1898. And look it. Hector wears mutton-chopped whiskers, high-buttoned shoes, and Chesterfield coat. Abigail is dressed in crinoline and old lace. Both might have stepped out of tintypes cast in the gaslight era. Abigail Van Cleek has gone with Hector to make arrangements for dinner. Now Hector returns to Bill and Maureen.
You're probably wondering about my sister and me, Mr. Foster.
Wondering isn't the word for it.
We were sure all the Van Cleeks were dead.
As far as the world has known, they are. But now I'm afraid we can't keep our secret any longer. You see, we were on the Portland when it went down back in 98. But we didn't drown as everyone thought. Abigail and I were on a raft, and we made the shore.
Well, then why?
You wonder why we didn't reveal our identity? Well, our father, Claudius, disgraced us in the stock market, Miss Davis. We were, well, ashamed. We wanted to hide from the world. And so I conceived the idea of coming back here to the old house after Hubertus had closed it, and living our lives out away from the accusing eyes of the world.
I see. And you've lived here for 50 years, hmm?
Yes, Abigail, I, and Hodgkins. Hodgkins, our family's faithful retainer, had volunteered to stay with us till the end. It's he who buys the food and other necessities, going out only at night. It was he who brought us the news of our brother Hubertus' untimely death.
You mean you and your sister haven't even left this house for 50 years?
That's correct, Miss Davis. And we hope that here we shall die a peaceful and natural death. Contrary to the tradition of our family. There's something further I must explain.
Yes, Mr. Van Cleek.
My sister, Abigail, she, when the ship went down, she lost her mind.
What?
That is, it stopped in terms of time. She actually thinks she's still living in the 90s.
I see.
But you know all about the present.
Yes, of course. But you see, I've always been very devoted to Abigail. That's why I've lived with her all these years, humored her. That's why I wear these ancient clothes. Fashionable in the 90s, but strange to the present eyes.
Strange isn't the word for it. We thought we'd seen a couple of ghosts.
Of course. I understand. I ask only one thing.
Yes, Mr. Van Cleek.
Please humor my sister along. Live with her in the past. Even though you know it's ridiculous, I'd appreciate it deeply.
Of course, Mr. Van Cleek.
Yes, you can depend on us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, there you are. I'm so sorry I was delayed. The curry, you know, is such an exacting entree. And, of course, the champagne. Hodgkins and I always differ on the champagne. Have you been to the opera lately, Miss Davis?
Why, no.
Oh, what a pity. There's a young tenor named Enrico Caruso. Just a young man, a mere boy. But he sings so divinely. I haven't been so thrilled since I heard Jenny Lind sing. Of course, that must be, 15 years ago.
Well, I do go to the theater occasionally.
Oh, theater. Theater, I do love it. Oh, those lovely young creatures. Lily Langtry and Lillian Russell. And Edwin Booth. Oh, poor fellow. Died 5 years ago. Oh, what a tragedy. What an actor.
Dinner is served.
Oh, thank you, Hodgkins.
More wine, Miss Davis?
Oh, no, thank you, Mr. Van Cleek.
Mr. Foster?
Oh, thanks. I couldn't touch another drop.
You may remove the wine, Hodgkins.
Yes, madam.
It's been a wonderful dinner, Miss Van Cleek. I haven't had food like that since the war.
Oh, yes, the war. Isn't it terrible? Still, we're fortunate in having men like Roosevelt and Dewey to lead us against the Spaniards.
Roosevelt? And Dewey?
Against the Spaniards?
Yes, Abigail's right. Admiral Dewey's victory in Manila Bay. And, of course, Teddy Roosevelt's gallant charge at San Juan Hill.
Will there be anything else, madam?
No, Hodgkins, I don't think so. Oh, yes. You might tell me what the weather is like outside.
It's snowing very hard, madam.
Oh, then I'm afraid it will be very difficult for Miss Davis and Mr. Foster to get a hansom cab now.
Yes, madam, it will.
Well, I'd suggest that they stay overnight here as our guests, Hector. Don't you think that's a splendid idea?
I certainly do, Abigail.
Oh, Miss Van Cleek, we couldn't.
Oh, we don't want to put you out.
Oh, no, we'd be delighted to have you.
Yes, we insist.
Well, I'm sorry, but
Please, it would make Miss Van Cleek and myself very happy.
Well...
Thank you, Mr. and Miss Van Cleek. We'll stay.
Oh, that's wonderful. Hodgkins. Hodgkins.
Yes, madam.
Prepare 2 rooms for our guests.
Yes, madam. At once.
It's incredible, Bill. Those 2 charming people living the life of 50 years ago in this dismal house.
Yeah.
When we get back to the chief with this story, you'll never believe it.
I'm not sure that I do.
What do you mean?
It all may not be as Victorian as it looks.
Bill, I don't understand. You mean there's something fishy about all this?
Well, it could be.
But we've been with them all the time. We've seen everything with our own eyes.
Yeah, and a little extra.
Bill Foster, what are you driving at?
Did you notice the butler's wrist when he served us our soup?
Hodgkins? No. What about it?
Well, his wrist was tanned. I could tell because the white skin showed where he had worn a wristwatch.
Well, what are you talking about? Suppose he did have a coat of tan.
Look, from what we heard, this big butler Hodgkins hasn't been anywhere but in this gloomy mausoleum or else out at night to do the shopping. Is that right?
That's right.
Yet he has a coat of tan in the middle of winter and with no exposure to the sun.
Yeah. Yeah, that does seem funny.
Well, don't you get it? Where's the only place Hodgkins might get a tan in the middle of winter?
What, in the South?
Florida, maybe?
Bill, Florida. Why, that's where...
Yes, that's where Hubertus Van Cleek was murdered.
Then you think Hodgkins might have had something to do with it?
I don't know. Personally, I don't like him. There's something about his eyes. You know what we ought to do?
What?
Get out of here in a hurry. This thing is beginning to come together like a jigsaw puzzle, and it isn't nice. Here, I'll carry the camera.
Bill,
There's no time to talk now. We've got to leave fast if we're going to leave at all. Come on, Maureen. Let's try the back way. The last time I saw our pal Hodgkins, he was prowling around in the front of the house.
This seems to be the servants' quarters.
Yeah. I'll try this door. Maybe it'll lead down into the cellar, and then we can make our getaway the same way we came in. Nope, it's no good. It's locked tight.
Here's another door. I'll try it. Bill!
Yeah, it's the bunny. We're standing up in that closet, and when you opened the door, it fell out.
Oh, Bill.
Keep your chin up, baby. Don't lose your grip. I'm going to take a look. Uh-huh. Bullet hole right through the heart.
Then that must have been the shot we heard.
There's no doubt about it. That door slam alibi was a phone... Hey, wait a minute. The devil's got identification papers. Well, I'll be...
What is it, Bill?
This guy's name was Collins. He was a special police investigator for the Miami police.
Then he must have followed Hodgkins up here on the Hubertus Van Cleek murder.
Precisely, Miss Davis. Huh? And, of course, I had to do away with him.
Hodgkins?
Yes. Now, don't move, Mr. Foster. This gun works very well, I assure you.
So it was you who murdered Hubertus Van Cleek.
You're a very clever young man, Mr. Foster.
Did you nail him, Hodgkins?
Got him cold, Nixon.
I guess it's all settled about what we'll do with him.
It's all settled, Margie.
Nixon. Margie.
Yeah, in other words, Hector and Abigail. Pretty clever impersonations, too.
Thank you, Mr. Foster.
Looks like we'll have to give these 2 nosy newspaper characters the same business we gave that cop, Collins.
Yeah, Nixon, looks like.
Bill.
I'm afraid they've got us, Maureen. I've got to hand it to you, crooks. The neatest inheritance racket I've ever heard about.
Inheritance racket?
Yeah, this little trio knocked off Hubertus, last of the Van Cleeks. That means that there weren't any existing relatives to claim the Van Cleek fortune, until very recently.
That is until Nixon and Margie here brought Hector and Abigail out of a watery grave.
That's right.
Pretty clever, aren't you, Mr. Foster?
Yeah, too smart for his own good, eh, Hodgkins?
That's right, Nixon.
But, Bill, how could they prove that they were Hector and Abigail Van Cleek?
Well, they fooled us, didn't they, baby? It was a beautiful act and a very nice little story. Besides, there was always Hodgkins here to add the final clincher.
Oh, you know that too, Mr. Foster.
Yeah, I took the trouble to read a few old clippings down at the Clarion Morgue. You really were the Van Cleek butler. As the faithful family retainer, you could positively identify these 2 phonies here as Hector and Abigail Van Cleek. Then ring yourself in on a nice 3-way split on the dough.
No use wasting any more time, Hodgkins. Let them have it.
Yeah, we'll have our work cut out to bury them in the cellar.
Bill.
Steady, baby.
I've shot plenty of people with this camera of mine, but this is the first time I've ever been on the receiving end of a... Put that camera down. Quick, let him have it.
The flashbulb light.
Get
down on the floor.
Maureen, it's gun.
I've got the gun, Bill.
Okay, let me have it. Well, isn't this fun?
Oh, Hodgkins, you fool.
You really couldn't help it, Abigail. Or rather, Margie. That flashbulb in my camera just went off and blinded him.
Bill, you're wonderful.
Thanks, baby. Now, if you'll hurry out to the police, I'll keep these characters entertained. Don't forget to phone the chief an exclusive on this first.
I won't. Are you sure you'll be all right, Bill?
Oh, I'll be all right. But if any of these lovely people try anything, they'll die a real Van Cleek death by violence. Premeditated.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory. In the haunting hour.
Stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment. For this is a time of mystery. A time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour. The people in the house. All houses have their secrets, and the house on East 67th Street in New York was no exception. Its rooms had seen the births and deaths of 7 generations of Thatchers. And now they looked down with despair upon the 3 people living within its walls. Evans Thatcher III, his son Kendall, Kendall's lovely wife Margaret. For evil and hatred stalked the rooms and took you by the throat when you entered the house. It was polite and hidden, but sinister, and present so strongly that you felt you could reach out and touch it.
Margaret, come in, my dear. I've been waiting for you.
Oh, I didn't know you were home.
Aren't you forgetting something, my dear?
I didn't know you were home, Father.
That's much better, Margaret. I only ask that you behave as any daughter should to a father-in-law.
Where's Kendall, Father?
My dear, Kendall is only my son, but he's your husband. I'm surprised you should ask me his whereabouts. Most wives of my acquaintance are...
All right, Kendall isn't home. Let's stop acting.
My dear child, I've never acted with you. It is you who pretends to like me. I take little pains to conceal my dislike of you.
I hate you. I hate you more than I believed I could ever hate another human being. And if it weren't for Kendall...
Why don't you divorce Kendall, my dear? I'd gladly pay for it. Kendall isn't the proper husband for you. You should have married a strong young detective. there was a suitable match for you. By the way, what was his name?
Walters. Larry Walters.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the name perfectly. Father. And I didn't marry him because I was in love with Kendall.
Oh, come now, my dear. We both know the truth. You could hardly marry a representative of law and order if you told him the truth about yourself. But after tonight, why, I imagine that difficulty should be solved.
Oh, you're completely vile. But there's one thing you've never understood. A mind like yours can't understand it. I love Kendall more than I hate you. And I'm not going to leave him alone with you so that you can ruin him completely.
Too bad that you can't afford to move out of my house into an apartment of your own, isn't it? I'm sure that if Kendall could get a job and support you, you'd be deliriously happy.
Yes, I would. But you've taken good care to see that Kendall is too weak to go out in the world, haven't you?
Now, my dear Margaret...
Don't think I don't know what you're doing. You've hated Kendall since the day he was born and deliberately set out to ruin him by giving him everything he wanted. You've made Kendall so completely dependent upon you that he's afraid to leave. You've pampered him so that he's fit for nothing.
You're insane.
No, I'm not. I'm perfectly sane. I'm willing to stay here and fight you till I've made a man out of Kendall. We both walk out of this house together with our heads up.
And I'll see you both dead and rotting first. Oh, good evening, Kendall. Did you take my message to the club?
Yes, Father. Mr. Ainsley said there was no reply.
Oh?
Hello, Margaret.
Hello, darling. Well, aren't you even going to kiss me? I haven't seen you since this morning.
You bet I am.
Nonsense, Kendall. Stop acting as if you were a newlywed instead of behaving like a man who's been married a whole year.
Well, my mother and father were married 22 years, and he kissed her every night when he came home.
There. You see, Father, kissing your wife.
Kendall, come along upstairs. I want to talk to you. My dear Margaret, you'd better change. We're dining with some friends of mine.
But Kendall and I had planned to eat home tonight, Father.
Did you? I didn't. I don't very well see how you can. I left instructions that there was to be no marketing today and gave the servants the night off. Are you coming, Kendall?
Yes, Father. I'll see you later, Margaret.
I hate you, Evans Thatcher. I hate you. I wish you were dead. Larry, is that you?
Margaret, what is it? What's the matter?
Larry, I've got to see you.
Foolish child.
I must have a wrong number.
No, you haven't, Margaret. You're in trouble. I'll be right over.
No, you mustn't. You mustn't. Goodbye.
Well, are we all ready? Margaret, you look beautiful in that dress.
I'm afraid that the dress will have to go back, Kendall.
But, Father, why? You said yourself...
I changed my mind. I will not pay for it.
I don't want you to pay for it. I didn't ask you to buy it. Oh, Kendall. Kendall, can't you see what he's doing to us? I don't want him to pay for anything of mine, ever. Kendall, please. Please, let's get out of this house now.
Margaret is hysterical, Kendall. She doesn't know what she's saying. She's just done something very stupid and childish, for which I'm afraid I must punish you, Kendall.
No, I'm not going to stand by and see this again. You're not
Come
going
here,
to...
Kendall.
I'm sorry, Father, really, I'm sorry. I mean it. I'll never do it again.
It's a little late for that, my dear. Come here, Kendall.
You can have the telephone taken out, I promise. Please don't hit Kendall. Oh, please.
Mr. Thatcher?
Oh, come in, Mr. Walters. It was thoughtful of you to telephone, let me know you were coming. It enabled me to open the door myself. I don't like to let the servants know that I have detectives calling on me.
Oh. You don't like detectives, Mr. Thatcher?
Not in my house. As a matter of fact, though, I've been expecting a call from you for a few days now. Ever since Margaret was so foolish as to telephone you the other night.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Thatcher, that's just the reason for my visit. Margaret didn't sound at all well to me.
Very observant of you, Mr. Walters. Margaret isn't well. She's a neurotic.
That's funny. When I knew her, she was a perfectly healthy young lady.
Perhaps. But now she's definitely neurotic.
Then, of course, you've put her under the care of a physician.
I dislike your attitude very much. Are you implying that my son and I aren't treating Margaret properly? Because if you are, you can get out now. Actually, you have no right in this house. I received you because I wanted to show you that there was no reason for Margaret's call to you the other night. Now I shall let you see Margaret. You can hear from her own lips what I've been telling you.
Yeah, I'd like to see her.
If you'll excuse me, I'll go up and bring her down myself.
Thanks.
I won't offer you a drink. However, the radio is over there if you wish to turn it on. It may help you pass the time.
We interrupt this program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin. Dandy Jim Carey broke out of the death house a little over 4 hours ago.
Holy mackerel.
With only 2 days before his execution, Dandy Jim became the first prisoner ever to escape from the death house. The police have thrown a dragnet all over the country and promise a speedy arrest. Keep tuned to this station for further details.
Here he is, Margaret. Please tell him how you feel.
Hello, Margaret.
Hello, Larry. I don't know what was the matter with me. I was just upset and nervous. That's why I called you, Larry.
Yeah, that's what Mr. Thatcher told me.
Now, look here, Walters. I've stood for a lot from you because you were a friend of Margaret's. But I'm telling you, I'm not going to stand for any more insinuations. It won't do either Margaret or Kendall any good at all. Remember that, Margaret.
I'm not insinuating anything, Mr. Thatcher, but I'm not a fool. I know darn well that Margaret called me for some reason, and I don't believe a word of what you're saying.
All right. You succeeded in making me do something that's very painful both to me and Margaret.
Please go, Larry. Please. I don't need your help. I don't want it.
Don't worry, Margaret. I promise you that this won't affect Kendall at all. Now, Mr. Walters, here are the facts. Margaret's made a very good marriage.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly. Exactly. A girl in Margaret's position has no right to expect to marry my son. You see, Mr. Walters, my son was brought up with everything in the world he wanted. His for the asking. Margaret, on the other hand, had a much different life. Much different.
You mean that she wasn't spoiled?
That and other things. If I did spoil Kendall, Mr. Walters, it's only natural. When a child's mother dies at the birth of a child, and a man has to be both father and mother, his son is apt to be indulged.
Or hated.
Have you ever heard of Dandy Jim Carey, Mr. Walters?
Yeah, of course.
He's in the death house now, awaiting execution. You didn't know that he was Margaret's brother, did you?
Oh.
You see what your insinuations have made me do, Mr. Walters.
Uh-huh. I see. But it may interest you to know that Dandy Jim escaped from the death house 4 hours ago.
What?
Thank heaven.
I think that's your phone.
I'll answer it.
I wouldn't dream of it, my dear. I'll go.
Margaret, why didn't you tell me? I can see you're in a jam. Let me help.
I can't, Larry. Just leave me alone. It's best that way.
Hello?
Believe me.
Hello. Hello, answer there.
But, Margaret, I only want to help. Believe me.
Evidently a wrong number.
Yeah. You seem to have a lot of them around this house.
And now, Mr. Walters, I think there's nothing more for us to say to each other, so...
Good night. If you want me, Margaret.
She'll know where to reach you. Good night, Mr. Walters. And now, my dear, we'll wait for the telephone to ring again. Only this time, when Mr. Walters isn't here, you will answer.
No, I won't.
I think you will. Won't you, my dear? I think you will. Won't you, my dear?
Where's Kendall? I want Kendall.
Kendall won't help you. He never will.
Stop it! Stop!
Certainly. All you have to do is to pick up the telephone and say what I tell you. Well, you wouldn't want to disappoint your brother, would you? He desperately wants to get in touch with you.
All right.
So the drama that was touching the lives of the people in the house on East 67th Street came swiftly to its violent conclusion. Evans Thatcher III was determined to dominate and rule his son, Kendall, at all costs. Hating his son from the day he was born, bringing him up a weakling by pampering him, he resented Kendall's marriage to Margaret Carey, a beautiful and strong-willed girl who was determined to break Evans Thatcher's hold over his son. Only Margaret had a brother, Dandy Jim Carey, who had escaped from the death house and is even now trying to get in touch with her, while she sits on a bench in Central Park waiting anxiously for Kendall.
Oh, Margaret, I'm sorry I'm late. I tried to get away, but Father...
I know, darling. Sit down here right next to me on the bench. Oh, the park's beautiful at night, isn't it, Kendall?
Gee, I look forward so much to sitting here quietly with you. It's the only time in the whole day that I'm happy.
Do you think that's right, Kendall, darling?
Huh? What do you mean?
Well, that two people so much in love and married should live, be only happy when they can sneak away from the house they live in to sit in the park and hold hands.
Oh, Margaret. I know. I'm no good. Why don't you leave me?
Oh, stop saying that, Kendall. Don't you realize that's just what your father wants?
I know, but there is just nothing I can do about it.
But there is. You're going to have to make a decision, my darling. You're going to have to come away with me.
I want to. So much. But I'm scared. We'll starve, Margaret.
Well, we won't. I tell you we won't.
It's hopeless. Do you think that I could stand watching you work and support me?
You wouldn't have to. You could go to work.
I want to. But you know what happened when we tried it once before. Father saw to it that no one would hire me. And if I did get a job, he had me fired.
Well, we made a mistake. We'll have to leave New York.
Where will we go?
What difference does it make? We'll be together and we'll be happy.
But you won't have anything. I don't care so much for myself, but I couldn't stand it for you.
That's not true, Kendall.
Do you mean I'm lying? You mean that I really don't want to go with you?
I mean that you're afraid to face the facts. You have no reason to be afraid for me. I wasn't wealthy before I married you, and I wasn't unhappy. I am now. I won't be because I love you very much if we go away together. I don't care how little we have as long as we're people, living together, supporting ourselves and away from your father.
Margaret, I will. We'll go away. We'll never see my father again.
Oh, Kendall. Kendall, darling. Oh, when will we go, Kendall? Tomorrow?
No, we'll have to make plans.
Why? Your mind is made up, isn't it?
Of course it is, but we can't just pack up and go like that.
Why not?
Well, there are things to do. We have to find a place to go, get the tickets.
We'll go down to the station and get on a train. What difference does it make where we go?
But we can't rush. Maybe...
Oh. All right, Kendall. I have an appointment now.
With whom?
Your father and my brother. I don't suppose you want to come with me.
No. I think it's better if I stay out of this.
Yes, Kendall. I guess I have to face it. I think it's better if I stay out of your life, too. Permanently.
Margaret.
Yes, Kendall. I love you very much, but you'll never break away from your father. As he told me, he's done too good a job.
Well, you talk as if Father were deliberately
You
trying
don't see it. You'll never see it. Goodbye, Kendall.
No, Margaret, wait. Wait!
Come in, Margaret, my dear. It's cozy in here.
Why did you make me tell Jim to meet us here?
It's an ideal place, my dear. Who would ever think of looking for an escaped murderer in the Castle Chess Club?
Are you going to help him get away?
Question is premature, my dear. This reunion between beautiful sister and doomed brother appeals to my sense of the dramatic. That is why I brought you to the Castle Club tonight. I hope you realize the honor I've conferred upon you. The first woman ever to set foot in the Castle Chess Club.
That was your idea, wasn't it? You're the president of the club, and you made them put that rule into effect.
Why, yes, my dear. Now that you mention it, it was. You see, I don't believe that a chess club is any place for a woman.
That isn't the real reason. You hate women. You've hated us all ever since your wife died. And that's why you hate the son you think caused her death.
Shut up. Silence.
Shouting doesn't change anything. I'm right. That's the explanation for you and everything you've done.
You're impudent. And you shall pay for it.
I don't care. I'll do anything you want if you'll only help Jim get away.
Do you realize, Margaret, that you're asking me to break the law? Aiding an escaped criminal?
Stop it. I know all about you. How do you think I met Kendall? It was through Jim, of course. I knew that you were the leader in all the crooked business that Jim was doing. I begged him to stop, but he wouldn't.
Thank you for being so frank. I often wondered how much you knew about me.
And I know that it was your fault Jim killed Mr. Merritt.
Rather a bold knock for a man who's hiding. Open the door. Your brother will be glad to see you.
Kendall.
What do you mean by coming in here?
I thought that you should know that... Well, I followed you.
You followed me? For what reason? I specifically told you
I noticed Larry Walters following you, too, and I thought maybe there was some trouble.
Well, it was very thoughtful of you, Kendall. Very thoughtful indeed. But as you see, there's nothing wrong. Margaret and I were just having a little chat. You can go now. Did you hear me, Kendall? I said you can go.
I heard you, Father.
Kendall, I want you to stay.
You'll regret this, my dear Margaret. Go home, Kendall.
If you won't do as I ask, then I want Kendall to stay.
I hope you heard what Margaret just said, Kendall. A deliberate attempt to blackmail your father and to do something unlawful.
Well, I'm not...
It's time you knew the truth, Kendall. We've been married a whole year, and if you're ever going to become a worthwhile person, now is the time.
Margaret.
You can't stop me now. I'm going to tell him.
Kendall, you can prepare yourself for some vicious lies.
Kendall, you're going to have to be strong enough to face the truth. Your father is a blackmailer.
I don't believe it. No, Margaret,
It's true. After your mother died, when you were born, Evans Thatcher became a bitter, rotten old man. He used his position and his reputation to find out things about people, and then he blackmailed them.
Ridiculous.
But Margaret, Father didn't need money.
He liked to hurt people, to see them squirm. He wanted to hurt the world because he'd been hurt.
Kendall, she hates me so much she's trying to poison your mind against me. She hasn't one iota of proof.
You covered your tracks well, didn't you? You had my brother Jim do all the dirty work for you. Didn't you ever wonder, Kendall, what business affairs your father and Jim could possibly have had together?
Well, it did seem kind of peculiar.
Kendall, go home. Let me handle this. I'll explain everything to you in the morning. My word of honor.
But, Father...
You have my word. Go home.
Hello, everybody. This is a nice little family gathering.
Jim.
Stay where you are, Jim. Stay right where you are, or this gun might go off. Go on, Kendall. Get out.
No, I'm staying. I want to hear all of this.
Yeah, tell your son how you double-crossed me with Merritt.
Shut up.
Why? What have I got to lose? If you don't kill me, the cops will. But why don't you tell your son how you made me pack a gun when I went to Merritt's and how you knew he'd have one, too?
So it's true. Margaret wasn't lying. You are an evil old man.
One more step, Jimmy, you'll be dead.
Jim, wait. Mr. Thatcher will help you to get away.
Too late now, sis. But he could have helped me. He folded. And I kept my mouth shut in court for him.
Now we'll have the truth. You didn't accuse me because no one would have believed you. I was too careful.
What's the difference? First I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to die happy. Now get out of my way, Kendall.
Stand back, Kendall. He's not going to hurt me. I'm going to kill him. I won't be blamed for it. He's an escaped convict.
I'll tell. I swear I'll tell. I'll tell the police just how it happened.
You're not going to be alive to tell anyone anything. Kendall, stand back.
You're not going to shoot, Father, or you'll have to shoot me first.
Get out of my way. Are you crazy?
No, Father. Just seeing you as you really are. I'm growing up, Father.
You idiot! These fools can ruin me. I'm going to say that Jim killed Margaret. Then we took the gun away from you, but I had to shoot him in self-defense.
All right. Hold it. Everybody reach.
Oh, thank heavens you come, Walters. You can arrest this convict.
And you, Mr. Thatcher. Now I know why you dislike detectives. Drop that gun. Come along, Jim.
Give me that gun, Thatcher. Give it to me, all right.
Break it up. Break it up, you two.
All right. Here.
Take this!
Jim, darling.
It's all right, sis. It's better this way.
You all right, Jim?
I'm okay. I'll be dead a little quicker than you thought. And, well, thanks for getting Thatcher for me.
I didn't get him for anybody. He took a shot at Margaret.
Thanks anyway. Now Margaret will be all right. Won't you, sis?
You mean we'll be all right, Jim? Kendall and me.
Yes, that's right, Jim. Don't you worry about Margaret. We'll be really together now.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory in the haunting hour.
No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour. Murder is my business. Tomorrow is a word full of mystery, for not even the wisest seer can tell you what tomorrow brings. And today you stand on its threshold, waiting for what? Ah, yes, you say, but nothing will happen to me. And I say in reply that as surely as you doubt, one of your tomorrows, and maybe more, will be filled with adventure beyond your maddest dream, and I have proof. Listen. This is the story of one tomorrow, of what happened to a girl named Maggie Stewart. And like all stories of sudden, unexpected adventure, hers has a prologue. You will not understand this prologue, for like Maggie, you are shrouded with the darkness of the unknown that is tomorrow. It begins on a streamliner, its silver nose pointing south, its wheels humming with speed. And in the prologue are two people, identities unknown, a man and a woman. The man sits stiffly on seat 7 in car 13. He is silent, on his face an expression of impatience. At last he gets up, walks quickly to the end of the coach, turns down the narrow corridor, and stops at the curtained doorway of the ladies' lounge. And then he says, "Peggy, don't be a fool. Come to your seat."
I won't, Carl. I won't. We've got to get off this train at the next stop. I tell you, I can't go on.
That imagination of yours is driving me crazy. For heaven's sake, stop thinking about it. Come to your seat.
I won't. I don't want to be killed. I'm not ready to die.
Good night, Aggie. You're just plain silly.
But he's on the train. I know he is. You've got to believe me, Carl.
Well, I don't. You've seen him dozens of times before. Or thought you did.
He got on this train when we did in New York.
You're scaring yourself into a fit. Now stop it. Somebody's going to notice.
I don't care. I'm getting off this train, do you hear? I'm not going to stay here and be murdered.
All right. The next station. Anything to stop all this foolishness.
We can take another train. We can watch and see if he gets off, too. And if he does, we...
What is the next station?
Little town. Roslyn, I think.
Then it's settled. Are you coming to your seat?
No.
Well, I'm going to take a nap. You'd better wake me when we get there. I paid for that bloomin' seat, and I'm going to sit in it.
2 people on a train, and their companion is death. But what has all this to do with Maggie Stewart? Give patience to your ear. Listen. The streamliner comes to a stop. The station is marked Roslyn. It is strangely empty. A girl comes running up the platform stairs, a small suitcase in one hand, a white silk scarf in the other, and a large black purse under her arm. She looks hastily down the line of coaches. A single porter is leaning out from the steps of a car just ahead. No one is getting off the streamliner. The girl catches her breath.
This way, miss. All aboard.
Train to Greenville?
Sure is, miss.
Oh, I made it.
She climbs the steps of car 13. The porter reaches for her suitcase, but she darts it onto the platform, peers through the door window. The coast is clear. So far, so good. She pushes hard on the stubborn door, makes a few cautious steps in the narrow corridor, and quickly goes through a curtained doorway into the washroom. She has escaped the porter, but still she is not alone. A woman stands against the wall, her face strained with fright.
Was that town, Roslyn?
Yes, it was. Oh, I'm out of breath. I nearly didn't make it.
What's the next stop?
I think Pell City, but maybe this train doesn't stop there. I'm not sure. Oh, me, I ran all the way.
You came in so suddenly. You frightened me.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry.
Ring the porter's bell there, and he'll come for your bag.
Oh, no, I'll just slip it in here against the wall. I'm not going very far. Oh,
that's a gun.
Oh, don't think I'm a criminal or something. I had it wrapped in this scarf here so nobody would see it until I could put it away, and now
What would a young lady like you be doing with a revolver?
Well, now, that's exactly what I told Aunt Margaret people would say. Oh, here, I'll put it in my pocketbook. Aunt Margaret's so old-fashioned. Imagine. She came flying down to the station just to give me that revolver.
Why?
Oh, I don't know. Uncle Jim used to make her carry it. He was on the road so much, so Aunt Margaret, well, she's very fond of me, and I took it just to please her. Is something the matter? You look...
Oh, no, I'm all right, thank you. It's the train, the motion.
Oh, maybe a cup of water.
Oh, no, it's nothing. Don't think about it. You said you weren't going far. How far?
Just 4 hours from here. To spend a whole week on a farm a few miles outside of Greenville. A girlfriend of mine has it.
Oh, vacation?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's all so unexpected. That's why I nearly missed the train. Maybe... Why don't you sit down here? Maybe you'll feel better sitting down.
Oh, I'm quite all right now. I'd rather stand.
Oh. Well, I work in the Roslyn Library. I didn't start there till last March, so I'm not really entitled to a vacation this year. But with the holidays coming like they do, Mrs. Hart said I might have the time off. Is this a vacation for you, too?
You might call it that.
Guess you're used to riding trains. Oh, has the conductor been by to take the tickets?
I don't know. I can't really remember.
Oh, I really am in a fix. At the last minute, I couldn't get a reservation. Only a ticket for the coach train tonight.
You mean you don't have a seat? Wait, listen.
What is it?
Well, there's a man on this train that I've been avoiding. Would you look out in the corridor for me? I think I heard him. Just see if there's a man out there.
All right. Is he somebody you know? Not a soul there.
Well, to tell you the truth, he frightens me a little. But it's nothing. So you don't have a reservation?
No, do you think they'll put me off? Oh, Aunt Margaret said they were sure to, but I do have a ticket.
I don't know. I hear they're very strict.
Well, I thought because I'm not going very far that I could just stay in here.
Well, there's no need for you to do that. Take my seat for a little while.
Oh, no, I couldn't do that.
Oh, I insist. I'd be happy for you to have it. In a way, you'd be doing me a favor, and I really can't sit there, the motion of the car. I'd be much better off in here lying down.
Oh, but I don't think it's right for me to deprive you.
But you're not depriving me. And this trip means more to you anyway.
I would hate to be kicked off.
Oh, then you run along. Number 7 on the right. There's a middle-aged man on the opposite seat. He's probably sound asleep snoring.
Well, you're sure now that I'm not... Well, I suppose I could wait till we're nearly to Greenville and then give the conductor my ticket and explain
Of
it.
course. And then if it puts you off, it'll be all right. You'll be where you're going. You run along now.
Well, I will then. Thank you so much. Oh, I suppose my suitcase will be all right here.
I'll watch it for you. Oh, here, don't forget your purse.
And Aunt Margaret's ominous revolver. Thank you so much.
Goodbye for now. I'll see you later on.
And I do hope you're better. Number 7?
That's right. Where the man is asleep.
Maggie Stewart sits quietly, her eyes following the swift-moving landscape of trees and hills. Directly in front of her is a sleeping man, but he is silent now, his head tilted back on the seat. There's something about him, something eerie. Faint chatterings come from the other occupants of the car. At last, the train slows down, stops. And Maggie notices the station is Pell City. Still, the man opposite her does not move. The train starts again. The cars groan and jerk. And then, like a picture in slow motion, the man slides from the seat into a limp mass of death at her feet.
Fred, what's happened?
He's
dead.
Somebody help me, please.
Oh, look.
Somebody.
Why, look, the seat's covered with blood. He's been shot. Don't touch him. Don't touch him.
What's the matter here? Now, don't crowd the aisle. Some of you get back to your seats.
I thought he was sleeping. He was dead all the time.
Yeah, now, don't get hysterical, young lady. Everybody be quiet. Quiet, please. Now, maybe I can find out what this is all about.
No use looking for his pulse, conductor. Man's stone dead.
Oh, please help me out of here.
Here, step up for the seat. Stand back, please. Let the young lady out.
You're right. He is dead. Shot. Who are you?
Name's Wayne O'Hara, Detective Sergeant, New York City. Murder's my business.
Murder? Good night. Yeah, quiet. Let's have quiet here, please. Well, this is a case for the police. Young lady, do you know anything about this?
Oh, no, sir. I thought he was asleep. She said he wasn't. And then when the train jerked like that...
Who said he was asleep?
Oh, the woman in the lounge. This is her seat. I was only sitting in it.
Well, where's your seat?
I don't have one. I got on at Roslyn.
No reservation, huh? Do you know this man?
No. I never saw him before. Never.
You got a ticket?
Yes, sir. Right here in my purse. You see, I'm only going to Greenville, conductor, and I thought...
Yeah. What's the matter?
His purse. It isn't mine. It belongs to that woman in the lounge. I must have picked it up by mistake.
Mighty funny.
Well, she's there in the lounge. She wasn't feeling well. My suitcase is there, too.
Well, we'll soon find out. Detective...
Sergeant O'Hara.
You take charge. I'll be right back. Stand back, please. Let me by you. Stand back.
What's your name?
Maggie Stewart. I don't know anything about this, honestly.
Let's see that first.
Here.
Must be a card. Some kind of identification. Ah, yes, here's a wallet. Mrs. Leonard Carl Tatum, New York City. Is that the woman's name?
I don't know. I didn't ask her name.
Let's see. Bag up there on the rack. Initials LCT. Well, might be hers.
Oh, please. I can't stand here looking at him.
Well, then sit down, Miss Stewart. Over here. Oh, please, lady, don't block the aisle.
Oh, that poor girl. She's white as a sheet. I have some smelling salts in my bag up there.
Oh, no, I'll be all right. Thank you.
There's nobody in the ladies' lounge. Nobody at all.
Oh, but she must be.
Would you know her if you saw her again?
Oh, yes, of course I would.
No suitcase in the lounge either. Nothing.
Then where is it? I left it there, right there. Oh, you just didn't see it.
Well, here's the dead man's wallet, conductor. It was Leonard Carl Tatum, also of New York. His purse belongs to his wife.
Well, then she's the woman I talked with, don't you see? Oh, you've got to find her. She's on this train somewhere.
There now, young lady. Take it easy.
Oh, look. Look there under the seat, the one I was sitting in.
Well.
Don't touch it, conductor. It might be fingerprints. Here, let me. I'll use this handkerchief.
The murder weapon. A six-shooter.
Equipped with a silencer.
Well, don't look at me like that. I don't know how it got there. I never saw it before. Oh, Please search the train.
Yes, I suggest you do, conductor, before the next stop.
Oh, she killed him. I know she did. That's why she said he was sleeping. She wants you to think I did.
No, that's for the police to decide.
But it's so true. It's so clear now. There's no use searching for her.
Why do you say that?
Because now I understand what happened. She switched pocketbooks with me. She insisted I take her seat. And then when the train stopped at Pell City, she took my suitcase and got off. She planned it all so I'd be accused of murder.
When Maggie Stewart, off on a vacation, boarded the streamliner without a reservation, she started on an amazing adventure of murder. In the ladies' lounge, Maggie met an older woman who offered her reservation. And sitting there, Maggie was horrified when the man on the seat opposite, whom she had thought asleep, fell in a heap on the floor, dead. When the conductor arrived, and with him a man who identified himself as Sergeant Wayne O'Hara of the New York Police, Maggie discovered she was carrying the pocketbook belonging to the woman, a Mrs. Tatum, who had disappeared from the lounge, taking Maggie's suitcase with her. Then she realized it was planned. Planned so that she, Maggie Stewart, would be accused of murder. It is a few minutes later, when the conductor, Sergeant O'Hara, and Maggie have gone the length of the train in search of the mysterious Mrs. Tatum, wife of the dead man.
Well, that does it. If she's not here in the club car, she's certainly not on this train.
I knew it was no use, conductor. I tell you, she got off at Pell City. I know she did.
I think Miss Stewart's right, conductor.
Well, then I'll have to turn everything over to the police in Greenville as soon as we get there. 45 minutes from now.
And they'll arrest me. What'll I do?
No. Might be the whole thing will clear itself up. Sergeant O'Hara, since you're a representative of the law, you mind taking over the custody of this young lady till we get to Greenville?
Glad to, conductor.
And that lethal weapon, you better hold on to that, too.
All right, conductor.
I guess I better go then and get my passenger settled down.
Mr. O'Hara, what am I going to do?
Now, just sit down in this chair. Relax. And don't worry.
But what'll they do to me? Oh, it's my scarf. It's caught on something you're typing, I think.
Oh, that's a novel way of handcuffing a young lady, isn't it? There. Now you're free again. And just sit down. Take it easy.
But I don't I mean...
What's the matter?
Mr. O'Hara. That is your name, isn't it?
Detective Sergeant Wayne O'Hara, New York.
You don't think I killed the man, do you?
Frankly, no.
We could only find her. It's awful when your hands are tied like this, when you can't...
Oh, but you can, Miss Stewart.
Can what?
You can at least look for her yourself.
Oh, but we have. We look
No. I mean back in Pell City where she got off.
Oh.
Why not? Find her. Prove your innocence. You wait till the Greenville police get going, it might be too late. I haven't got cuffs on you.
You'd go back with me? Back to Pell City?
You say the word.
Yes, but how'd we get off the train?
Oh, that wouldn't be hard. Look out the window. We're in the mountains. On the upgrades, we'll slow down.
Oh.
But it's only a suggestion. Always been a man of action myself. Murder's my business, and I like to see these things, too.
And now I'm afraid murder is my business. All right, Sergeant O'Hara, let's go.
Hey, you two all right back there? If them tools getting away...
No, it's all right. We're very thankful for this lift.
How long will it take to Pell City?
Oh, now, about half hour, I reckon. Just you two relax. Enjoy the scenery. Mighty pretty country around hereabouts.
Funny old cutter, isn't it?
Sergeant O'Hara, do you really think we're doing the right thing? How can we ever find her?
How many hotels are there in Pell City?
I don't know. Must be a dozen, maybe 20. Why?
Well, she's in one of them. Bound to be. Woman who's just killed a man. She's nervous. What she wants to do is go somewhere and be alone. Think. Pull herself together.
Well, maybe that's so, but who'll you ask for? She's certainly not going to be registered as Mrs. Tatum.
No, you're quite right. But it's really very simple.
Simple? What do you mean?
She walked off with your pocketbook, didn't she? Well, we'll ask for Maggie Stewart. Miss Maggie Stewart, please. Stewart. Stewart. Maggie Stewart.
Let me speak to Miss Stewart, please.
Stewart? We have several Stewarts.
Her first name is Maggie. Maybe she's registered as Margaret.
No Margaret Stewart, but we do have a Miss Maggie Stewart, room 520. I'll ring her.
Oh, no. No, don't ring her. I'll drop by to see her. Thank you.
You're welcome, madam.
Oh, dear, what'll I do now? Oh, Maggie Stewart, have you lost your nerve? Operator, give me the police, quick. Hello. This is Mrs. Leonard Carl Tatum speaking. What I've got to tell you is a matter of life and death, so listen carefully. In Greenville, the police are searching for a girl who calls herself Maggie Stewart. Yes, she murdered my husband. In a few minutes, I'll be at the McMillan Hotel. I'll be wearing a white silk scarf. If you follow me, I'll lead you to Maggie Stewart. But if you interfere, if you stop me, she'll get away again. Be at the McMillan Hotel in 10 minutes. Oh. Sergeant O'Hara, quick, I found her!
After all, mister, I'm just a bellboy around here. I ain't supposed to let anybody in these rooms.
Sergeant O'Hara, look. My suitcase on the bed.
And it is the woman from the train.
Yes, but where is she?
Gone. Went out about 2 hours ago. You know where? I might, if I was encouraged to remember.
Yeah. Here's $5. Remember?
Middle-aged woman, wasn't she? Kind of tall, well-dressed?
Oh, that's right. But where'd she go?
She sent me out to rent a car. Said she was going to drive over to Lake Winnett. Asked me how to get there.
Lake Winnett? Why would she go there? Oh, I see. Listen, we'll rent a car. We hurry, we can make it before nightfall. Now I know where she is.
But I don't understand, Sergeant O'Hara. Please tell me what this is all about.
Only a matter of deduction, Miss Stewart. I happen to know this lake. There's only one house on it. So Mrs. Tatum must be there.
But how could you know? I'm frightened. Why, you're stopping.
Mm-hmm. We'll walk up. We'll surprise her.
Well, then let me stay here in the car. I'll wait for you.
No. We've gone this far together. You've got to come.
Sergeant O'Hara, wait.
What is it, Miss Stewart?
I know you're not a detective.
Of course. I thought you did. Ever since we started for this place. Tell me, how'd you find out? When did I give myself away?
In the train. My scarf caught on your tie pin. It's initials. The letters don't stand for Wayne O'Hara.
Ah, you're clever. I'm a fool. Forgot to take it off. All right, come on. We're wasting time. There's going to be another murder.
Oh, please let me go. There's no one here. The house is dark.
There's a car in the drive, under the trees. Come along. Here's the side door.
You have a key to this place. Who are you? Who?
In a moment, we'll be inside. Keep quiet. Don't talk. Stand behind me. I've got this gun in my pocket. Gun for the train. Come on. Follow me.
Stand where you are if you move out. Oh. I can see you both in the open doorway. Close it. Go on, close it. Now then, I knew you'd follow me, Mr. Donald Graves Lambert. In Pell City, I said he's determined to find me, and why not let him? What better place to have this whole thing over with than at his own country house?
You do know all about me, don't you, Mrs. Tatum?
This is your house?
Didn't you suspect that, Miss Stewart?
Why'd you bring that girl? You're a coward. But I didn't fool you, did I, Mr. Lambert?
No. Miss Stewart, this woman knew I was out to kill her. She suspected I was on a train. That's why she hid in the lounge. But how did you know your husband was dead, Mrs. Tatum?
I saw him. Round the corner of the corridor when I mustered up enough nerve to step outside the lounge for a moment. And there was something about him.
Oh, please let me go.
You'll never leave this house alive, Miss Stewart. In a moment, I'll turn on the lights for Mr. Lambert's benefit. It'd be a shame for him to die without seeing the woman who killed him.
She's right, Miss Stewart. I knew her husband, but I haven't the faintest notion what Mrs. Tatum looks like. She counted on that when she gave you her seat. She thought I'd kill you. And then from the pocketbook, you'd be identified as Mrs. Tatum.
Oh, please, I beg of you. I know nothing of all this. I'll never say a word if you'll only...
Miss Stewart, you're forgetting. You're wanted for murder. She kills me, she'll kill you to cover up.
Because killing you, Mr. Lambert, is the only way to avenge my husband's brutal death.
Brutal? For him, no death could be brutal enough. You and he, Mrs. Tatum, killed my wife.
As surely as you're standing there, you murdered her.
You're crazy.
You drained her of one fortune with your lecherous blackmailing schemes. And when her money was gone, when you threatened to expose her little misunderstanding to me, she took the shortest road she knew. How much she loved me. This woman you killed. And before she died, she told me about you and your husband. And it's taken me a year to find you. 12 months of searching for this night.
You know more than I thought you knew, Mr. Lambert. Now look at me. Take one good last look.
And Margaret's revolver.
Yes, it was in your purse. Remember, Miss Stewart?
Yes, and I remember something else. Mr. Lambert. Mr. Lambert.
Keep your hands up. Don't move.
Aunt Margaret's revolver, and all its life, it never had a bullet in it.
That's not true. That's not true.
Yes, Mrs. Tatum, it is true. But this gun now, this gun that killed your husband, this gun has only one bullet missing. You better put up your hands.
Oh, Mr. Lambert, don't. It's no use. I didn't tell you, but I called the police.
Okay, pick him up. We heard everything you said. It's better than any confession I ever came across. All right, keep him up there, Mrs. Tatum.
Well, Miss Stewart, cleverer than I thought. Double crossed me, huh?
I thought you were trying to help, but you weren't. You were only using me to kill Mrs. Tatum.
Officer, this man is a murderer.
Yes, officers, you're quite right. You've got a score to even with her, too.
I gotta warn you. Anything you
Yes,
say...
yes, we know. But listen, this young lady here was wrongly accused. She had nothing to do with any of it.
We heard all that from outside. All right, come on. We're going to take you two in.
Then I can go, officer?
Sure, after a few questions. We got you to thank for everything.
Well, what else could I do? I was accused of murder, so murder was my business.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory in the haunting hour.
No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour. The Devil's Deep. At the foot of a great cliff, a police launch is being slowly pushed by the ocean currents toward jagged rocks where the water boils and swirls as in a giant cauldron. Searchlights stab the darkness to reveal grappling irons, probing the inky waters of the Devil's Deep.
Hey, Inspector Bowman. Captain wants to know if he can turn the launch around now. He says Devil's Deep is no place to be caught when the tide turns.
Tell him to hold it a minute, Sergeant. I think we got our corpse. Give me a hand pulling that rope.
Okay. Why is it they always seem heavier when they're dead?
Never mind the questions. Just get them over the side.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Take her out, Cap.
Yeah, we'll stretch him out on deck for you, Inspector Bowman. Drowned, eh?
Maybe. Fell off the cliff up there. To swing that searchlight down here.
He's the one I want, all right.
Good gravy. There was another one?
Yeah, 2 of them. Help me unbutton his coat.
Well, in that case, you're lucky to have dragged up the one you wanted.
You're telling me? I have 2 suspects back at headquarters. One of them is lying about how this guy was killed.
Well, which was it? The fall from the cliff or drowning?
Neither, Sergeant. Take a look at this bullet hole. I sent for you, Miss Scott, and you, Mr. Malone, because I have some new evidence. I want the whole story. Everything.
But, Inspector Bowman, I've told you how it happened.
From the beginning this time, Miss Scott. And with no hints from you, Mr. Malone.
Oh, I'm sorry, Inspector, but this seems unfair. You've got absolutely nothing on either Miss Scott or myself.
I'll decide that, Mr. Malone. If you please, Miss Scott.
Well, I came here to the island because of my stepbrother. You see, Duncan and I were closer than many real brothers and sisters. I'd taken care of him ever since our folks died. I guess I decided to come that day in the doctor's office when he said...
Ever since I've known you, Peggy Scott, you've been saddled with that young brother of yours.
Well, I've almost made up my mind to buy a cottage on the island, Dr. Ramsey. Oh, it's a lovely cottage. Set back from a high cliff. It's straight out of a storybook.
Good. It might get him away from his imagination. He's got too much, Peggy. It's bad.
I know. But I understand him, Doctor. And I can give him understanding and kindness.
Yeah, it sounds like the very thing, Peggy. But take my advice and go down by boat. As long as you avoid people, you and Duncan are avoiding trouble.
It was early in the season, and there weren't many passengers on the steamer that crawled along the coast. But even so, there was one too many. For fate sent Mr. Sherman across our path. Events were already closing in on me the first morning when I was trying to make Duncan comfortable in his deck chair.
I wish you wouldn't treat me like a baby. I want to go to my stateroom and read.
Oh, you promised not to open that trunk full of books until we reached the island, Duncan. Now, here, let me fix that blanket.
Let me alone, will you, Peggy? That old fool is looking at us again. I can wring his neck.
That's no way to talk about Mr. Sherman. He was very sweet to us.
Helping us with our bags was just an excuse. He's been following us ever since we got on board. Haven't you noticed the way he's looking at you? Keep him away from Miss Peggy or say help me out.
You'll what, Duncan?
Nothing, Peg. Maybe I'm just imagining things at that.
Oh, I do wish you'd try to get over it, Duncan.
Why, Peggy? Imagination's a handy thing, you know. Lots of times it helps you to look into the future.
The future fast became the present. And on a ship, there's very little chance to escape it. Certainly, I never expected the train of events that harmless little Mr. Sherman's attention was to bring. I can still remember how apologetic he looked the next day when he finally found me alone.
Well, it's a lovely day, Miss Scott, isn't it? You mind if I sit down?
Oh, why, no, Mr. Sherman, of course not.
Well, I confess I'm relieved your brother isn't on deck today, Miss Scott. I do believe he dislikes me.
Oh, Duncan takes a bit of understanding, Mr. Sherman. He's not well.
That hardly explains it, but, well, I'll make friends with the boy yet, you'll see. I hear you've bought the place at Devil's Deep. Rather lonely place for just the two of you.
You sound as though you've been on the island before, Mr. Sherman.
Oh, come up every summer. Miss Scott, you know that chap over there?
The one in the trench coat and the battered brown hat?
Yes. This is the second time in the last hour I've caught him staring at me.
Well, maybe he thinks he knows you.
Well, we'll ignore him. No doubt you'll attract enough handsome young men without adding me to the competition. I must get around that brother of yours, though. Now, I'll drop down to his stateroom and have a chat with him.
Oh, no. That is, I'd wait until he's feeling better. He might not be very friendly and...
No? Well, now, don't you worry about that, young lady. I'll turn on the famous Sherman charm. That'll do the trick. My friends tell me it's fatal. Absolutely fatal.
My stateroom was directly across from Duncan's in one of those passageways that leads onto the deck. When I retired that night, I left my door ajar in case he should call. I don't know how late it was when I awakened, but it was the sound of his door that brought me to with a start. Then after a moment, I heard something heavy being moved on deck.
I got to the window in time to see Duncan pushing something through the lifeboats. Without stopping to think, I grabbed my robe and rushed out. I saw him leaning against a lifeboat, looking down into the water. Duncan, are you all right?
Well, hello, Pegs. Of course I'm all right. What are you doing out here?
Well, I heard you, Duncan. You were moving something.
Yeah. My trunk.
Your trunk? With your books in it?
That's right. I pushed it overboard.
Oh, Duncan. Didn't you notice that man in the trench coat there beyond the lifeboat? Come on, let's go back. He's coming over here.
Let him come. It's none of his business.
Come along, Duncan. I'm not going to stand here and be made a fool of. Let's walk back to the room.
All right. Watch your step, Peggy. I had to lift the trunk over that threshold thing. That's it. Well, good night.
Not so fast, young man. You haven't even started for bed. I'm coming in.
No, Peggy, leave me alone, will you? I don't want you in my cabin.
Nevertheless, I'm coming in. Now, where's the light switch? Oh. Now, Duncan, I'm not going to move until I see you take your jacket off and stop. Duncan! Your books are piled up against the wall. They weren't in the... Duncan, what was in that trunk? Mr. Sherman had disappeared. When we docked next morning, I looked for him. He didn't get off the boat. The purser hadn't seen him. I was frantic. I couldn't believe Duncan had... Anyway, I decided to go to the cottage first and then come back and phone Dr. Ramsey. As you know, there's no road to Devil's Deep. My stepbrother and I walked along the path through the woods. It was almost noon when we reached the house.
Wow, sis, this place isn't bad at all. Sort of wild and woolly. Hear that surf beating on the rocks down below?
Leave the bags out here and go on inside, Duncan.
Yeah, all right, sure. Say, this is all right, Peggy. Nice and cozy. Fireplace and everything.
Oh, Duncan, if only... Duncan, sit down, dear. I've got to talk with you.
Peggy, what's the use of questions? You know how I get mixed up sometimes? I forget things I've done. So I simply forgot I'd taken the books out of my trunk, that's all.
You don't know how I want to believe you, dear, but
Why don't you forget all about it, huh? I have. I feel better already. You ought to be glad that I've gotten out of the dumps.
Oh, I am, Duncan. But after last night, What's that you've got there?
A note. It was lying on the table.
The cleaning woman must have left it. Here, let me see it.
It's addressed to me, Peggy. I don't recognize the handwriting, do you?
To you? That's strange. Who could have gotten here before us?
It's easy enough to find out.
But we don't know anybody here. I couldn't... Duncan, what's the matter? What does it say?
It says... people hang for murder.
Oh, please, dear, don't look like that. Here, let me have it. If silence is worth $10,000, I'll forget about that trunk. Blackmail? But who? Suddenly I realized. The young man in the trench coat. Then almost as an afterthought, it came over me. Duncan had really killed Mr. Sherman. It was in the open now. It had to be faced.
What are we going to do, Peggy? They'll hang me. You know they will.
Please, Duncan, I've got to think.
I couldn't help it, Peggy. I didn't know what I was doing. That old fool Sherman, he came to see me. He drove me to it.
Oh, I suppose I knew what had happened all the time, but I didn't want to believe it. We'll have to go to the police, Duncan.
No, I'll kill myself first. I won't do it. You got to help me, Peggy. You're the only one who can.
Oh, I've tried, dear, and maybe I've only hurt you. Don't you see that somebody else knows now, even though the note isn't signed?
The guy in the trench coat says we can pay him off. Dad left you plenty. You can get the money.
It wouldn't work, Duncan, even if it were right. Blackmail doesn't end anything.
But it's my only chance, Pegs. I'll kill myself if you don't. You know what Dad said when he died? You got to take care of me. You'll get the money, won't you? Please, Peggy.
All right, dear. I'll get the money.
And now, back to the Devil's Deep. A police launch has dragged the turbulent waters of the Devil's Deep
and found the body of a man. So far, Inspector Bowman has neglected to mention that fact to the two young people who sit beneath the glaring light in his office. The eyes of the young man in the trench coat have never left Peggy Scott as she goes back over her story.
So, Miss Scott, this brother of yours, Duncan, takes one of his crazy dislikes to this Sherman guy on the boat, and that night he shoves a trunk overboard. You were the one watching this, Malone?
Naturally, Inspector.
So when you found that blackmail note waiting for you in your cottage, Miss Scott, you knew right away it was Malone who was onto the murder.
Yes, and I was sure of it after I'd gone to the bank that afternoon and arranged for a transfer of my funds.
Hey, lady, wait a minute. Mind if I walk you back to Devil's Deep, Miss Scott?
How did you know my name? What do you want?
Oh, just a couple of questions, Miss Scott. Like, are you in the habit of calling on bank presidents the minute you get in town?
That is none of your business.
I'm afraid it is. Very much my business.
Oh, yes, I'd forgotten your note. I suppose that's true. Now, please, if you'll let me by.
Not so fast, please. I've got to talk with you and your brother.
Mr. Malone, if you're wise, you'll keep very much away from my stepbrother. That's a warning. We'll be ready for the next note when you send it. Goodbye. Suddenly I knew that Duncan and this Mr. Malone must not meet. Above all else, I had to get my brother back to Dr. Ramsey before there was another tragedy. But next morning, when I returned from the bank where I'd gone to sign the necessary papers. I'm back, Duncan. Want to help me? Duncan, what are you doing with that poker?
We've got company, Peggy.
Your stepbrother is a very excitable young man, Miss Scott.
I was watching when he came sneaking in here.
I warned you, Mr. Malone. But I suppose one in your profession doesn't mind a few risks.
Tell me, did you know the man you were talking to on shipboard a few days ago?
Now, listen to me. You better
Duncan, what did Sherman say to your sister that caused you to get so excited?
Get out. Get out, I tell you.
Okay, I'm going. Just let me warn you that you're playing with dynamite, Miss Scott. I'll be seeing you.
I don't understand, Duncan. Why did he come here?
On the table there. The blackmail note, Peggy. The second one.
Like Mr. Malone, the note was confident and explicit, even to the denominations of the money to be tied into a package and brought to the cliff that night. Except for the second trip to the bank, neither Duncan nor I left the cottage all day. Somehow we both had the feeling of being watched, and it grew stronger as evening approached. Finally, it was dark.
Peggy, over here to the window. I saw a light moving down there along the shore.
I guess the time has come, Duncan.
Yeah. There it is again, Pegs. So he's got a flashlight way down at the foot of the path.
That means that he'll have to come through the woods to get out onto the cliff above Devil's Deep.
He picked that spot because it's open ground. He can be sure there's nobody out there except me.
Oh, I wish you didn't have to go. We could leave the money there.
How could we? The note said me alone with the money. I'd better get out there before he does. Where's that package with the money up in?
Here it is. I wondered if you were going to forget it.
Forget it? Are you kidding, Peggy?
You've got to be honest with me, Duncan. You weren't thinking of doing anything. Anything we'd both be sorry for?
What do you mean? Like Sherman?
Yes.
Peggy, I tell you, I was crazy that night. All I want to do is get this over with. You'll see. I'll pay him off and I'll get right back here.
All right, dear. Go quickly now. I'll be waiting for you. But I knew I wouldn't be, for I never intended to let Duncan meet Bob Malone. The package I'd given him contained torn strips of paper. It would never be opened, because I was going to meet the blackmailer before he reached the cliff. Quickly, I got the money and slipped out the back way. There wasn't a sound except for the roar of the surf in the distance. The woods made the night even blacker. When I reached the path, there was no sign of the flashlight. But pretty soon, I thought I heard footsteps coming up. Suddenly, I heard a sound close behind me. As I turned, the earth opened up with a blinding flash, and everything went flat. Slowly, I began to whirl back into the light. I opened my eyes and saw I was back in the cottage, lying on the couch in the living room. After a moment, the ceiling tilted back into place, and I turned my head and tried to focus on the man sitting beside me.
It's Bob Malone, Miss Scott. Don't be frightened. You got quite a sock on the head, but you're all right now.
Why did you hit me?
Don't try to talk. Just lie back and be quiet.
Oh, but
But the money...
It's in my pocket. Oh, don't try to sit up.
Take it and go. Go before Duncan comes back.
Your brother doesn't even know what's happened yet. He's still waiting out on the cliff. Now, just forget him for a minute, Peggy, because I've got something more important for you right now. Sherman, come around the couch where Miss Scott can see you.
Sherman? Mr. Sherman, but he's dead.
Oh, not at all, Miss Scott. Your friend Malone brought me back from a watery grave. Very inconsiderate, don't you think?
Cut the cracks, Sherman. Look, Peggy, if you'd given me half a break, I'd have told you I was a private detective. Sherman's a well-known blackmailer. When I spotted him talking to you on the boat, I figured it was worth looking into.
But, Mr. Malone, then there never was any reason for Duncan to be blackmailed. Mr. Sherman tricked him. He somehow made Duncan think he'd killed him.
I think your brother needs a psychiatrist, badly.
That's not important now. The important thing is that Duncan's not a murderer. Oh, don't you understand? It was his imagination. Sometimes the things in his mind seem real to him. He hated Mr. Sherman enough to...
Yes, that's it. Sherman worked on this quirk of his, got Duncan excited, faked the death scene.
Look here, Malone, I told you before...
All the time I was frightened to death of you, Mr. Malone.
That's my fault. When I saw your brother push that trunk overboard, I got kind of worried. I checked the passenger list and then everyone who got off the boat.
So did I. And Mr. Sherman didn't get off.
Oh, yes, he did. After you were nowhere around.
You were a little too anxious to believe the worst of your brother, if I may say so, Miss Scott.
I told you to keep out of this, Sherman. You see, Peggy, when I saw our blackmailing friend, knew there wasn't anybody in that trunk, I stopped worrying.
Like fun you did, old boy. You've been tailing me ever since you saw me talking to the young lady that morning.
But I never figured it was more than your usual blackmail routine, till I saw how scared Miss Scott was.
Yes, but don't you see? Duncan and I thought he was dead.
Yes, I see that now. Lucky I followed him out here tonight. I was right behind him when he came up the path with the flashlight.
It's too bad you couldn't have stopped him from hitting me.
Shut up, Sherman. Suppose you and I stroll down to the kid brother and tell him he can relax.
Oh, but Duncan thinks he's dead. Don't you see the kind of a shock it'll be when he sees him?
I can't leave Sherman here. Just you leave this to me. I don't think you should try to get up yet.
Oh, but you don't understand. Duncan flies off the handle so easily.
I know that only too well. Come along, Sherman. I think Miss Scott's stepbrother will be delighted to find you returned from the dead.
Thank you, Miss Scott. I'll admit that up to this point, your story checks in every detail. But what actually happened afterwards out on that cliff?
I don't really know, Inspector Bowman. I never saw Duncan or Mr. Sherman again. Mr. Malone was the only one to come back alive.
I have told you what happened out there, Inspector, just as I told Miss Scott.
Mr. Malone, you told me that when Duncan saw Sherman, the man he thought he'd killed, he flew into a rage and attacked him. But Sherman had a revolver, and during the struggle, he shot Duncan, and they both went over the cliff.
I'm sure that's what happened, Inspector. I should have known that that's exactly what Duncan would do.
I happen to know Sherman's record, Miss Scott. Blackmailer, yes, but he never carried a gun.
That's what I thought. Why I didn't bother to search him.
I'm afraid I can't believe you, Malone. We dragged the Devil's Deep an hour ago. We recovered Sherman's body. He was the one killed by the bullet.
And you think maybe I took things into my own hands?
If you didn't, I'm suggesting you tell us differently.
Well, you forced me into a corner, Inspector. You asked for it, don't forget. Let's go back to the moment Sherman and I left Miss Scott in the cottage near the cliff. There was a bright moon as the blackmailer and I headed toward the spot where young Duncan sat on a rock, staring down into Devil's Deep.
I wonder what Duncan's going to say when he sees me, Malone. I do make a rather healthy corpse, don't you think?
That's your worry, Sherman. But I wouldn't like to be in your shoes.
You don't go for that poor sick boy line with this kid, do you?
I do, Sherman. He's studying to be a manic depressive. He's on the way toward making the grade.
Well, in that case, you're going to have a tough time proving anything against me, Malone.
The blackmail notes in your handwriting are pretty good evidence, I'd say. Hold it now. Kid's seen us. Now, let me handle this. Everything under control, Duncan?
Of course, Mr. Malone. I've been waiting for you. I saw you on the path a while ago.
Good. Got anything to say to the ghost of Mr. Sherman?
Plenty. Stupid bungling rat. I hope you give him the works.
Now, look here, kid. I never did like this deal, but you made it seem harmless enough.
You think it was harmless, Duncan? To hire Sherman to make like a corpse so you could blackmail yourself and scare your sister into paying off?
I should really have killed him. All he had to do was stay out of your way.
All this might have been more harmless, Duncan, if you hadn't sneaked back and slugged your sister just before we came up the path. Was that necessary?
I was pretty mad when I opened that package and found the paper she'd given me. I had to get my money without letting her know it was me. You know, I could have worked this blackmail stunt again sometime.
Yeah, I suppose you could. Too bad I came along just then and drove you off. You'll never get the money now.
I'll get it, don't worry. And all the rest of it, too. It belongs to me. My father should never have left it to her.
I'm afraid, Duncan, that sooner or later you might kill Peggy.
Well, maybe I will if she gets wise to me.
Now, look, Malone, I'd never have got mixed up with a kid if I'd known this.
Not very pretty, is it? Don't forget that if anything happened to his sister, he had threatening letters in your handwriting. Where do you think that would have put you?
He was going to give them back when he paid me my grand here on the cliff tonight.
Ah, you're a fool, Sherman. Why do you think I told you to pick Devil's Deep for a meeting place? In those notes I delivered by myself.
Get it, Sherman? Noble brother meets nasty blackmailer, shoves him off cliff in self-defense.
Neat, huh? I wasn't acting when I said I hated you, Sherman. I never could stand the way you looked at Peggy.
Why, you little rat, that's fine coming from you. I ought to...
Look out, he may have a gun.
Of course I have. Why do you think I let the two of you come out here after me? After I get rid of you, I'm still going to get that money.
Listen, kid, I'm going to take that gun away from you and give you the spanking of your life.
Keep away from the edge, Sherman. He'll plug you as short as...
He hasn't got what it takes. Just a loudmouth brat. Go on, you keep backing up toward the edge, sonny boy, and pretty soon...
Take another step, Sherman, and I'll shoot.
No, you won't, kid, because I'm going to...
That's the story, Inspector. I didn't tell it because I hoped Miss Scott wouldn't have to know.
Sorry it had to come out this way, Miss Scott.
Oh, if only I could have helped him.
You tried. But Duncan was really dangerous. Maybe it's just as well that fate stepped in and took a hand.
As though some evil force had claimed him.
Yeah. The Devil's Deep.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory in the haunting hour.